Welcome back to the Brave Podcast. My name is Angelo, aka Exploring with Angelo on YouTube. Normally you find me out there hunting ghosts, going to strange places, and doing all sorts of weird things, traveling around the world, and a lot of fun stuff. Today, we're doing something a little bit different from that, as we have been doing consistently here. We have been having conversations with really cool and interesting people, and we have quite the doozy today. So, first things first, allow me to introduce my fantastic co-host, Moshi.
Hello, I'm Moshio on YouTube and Instagram, Mohammed in real life, and Mo to all my friends and family. And my mom even calls me Mo, actually, and everyone's really super surprised at that. Nobody calls me Mo, they would think. Hey, so I just want to remind you guys, we're on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. So after you finish this podcast to the very last second, you can leave us a rating on Spotify and Apple. Leave us a 5-star rating if you love us, and I think you do. So please do that. Today, I am introducing a good old friend of ours. We used to work together. We've been friends for a little while. And I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, we have a few friends groups in common, I think, right? We're going to get into it, actually. This is Stephen Keith.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. And yeah, I'm excited to hang out with you guys. I was thinking on the way over here, like, we've known each other for maybe like 20 years at this point.
Oh man, yeah, it's been a very long time. I was actually, that was kind of on one of the discussion topics that I had thought about before earlier today. The way that we actually met in elementary school. I think we were 12. Oh, well, you were probably younger. Because you're a year younger
Yeah,
than me.
if you're in like the 8th grade and I'm in the 7th grade, I'm like 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah, something like that. So the way I remember that we met each other was through music, actually. Well, I mean, I think we knew each other, but we weren't really like, friends yet at that point. And I just remember it was grade 7 for me. So you were in grade 6. And there was a school talent show coming up, if you remember that. And basically, it was me and my friend Ryan. We both play guitar, and Ryan can sing. I can kind of sing, or whatever you want to call it. And then we were like, well, we need a drummer. We needed a bassist too, but we didn't have anybody like in either grade. And for some reason, I don't think we could have had any of the older kids. I don't know. It was really weird, but we were looking around for somebody who could play the drums, and somebody suggested, oh, well, you should ask Steve. And I'm like, okay, sounds good. So I think I messaged you on like MSN or something.
Yeah, whatever we were using at the time.
ICQ.
Yeah.
But yeah, we ended up hooking up. I think we were practicing in your basement, which was essentially like a closet.
My laundry room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was this tiny little space. There was 3 of us. We were all sweating because it was super small and very, very hot.
Yeah.
And I think we had to pick out a couple of songs to kind of do like a tryout in front of some of the teachers and principals and whatever. And I remember we picked The Used, Buried Myself Alive.
Yeah.
And then we also picked a song from Nirvana, and it was probably a very poor choice to pick. Do you remember the song?
Polly. We played Polly.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was probably a really bad idea, to be honest. But
we wanted like a slower,
something
more
different.
Chill song.
Yeah,
and
to have a couple different options, but we ended up performing Buried Myself Alive, and the performance was a lot of fun, very nerve-wracking because I don't think any of us had ever done anything like that before.
No, I think that was like probably the first time any of us had like played in front of someone that wasn't our family.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was pretty crazy.
It was literally pretty much the whole, well, I mean, whoever bought tickets, but it was pretty much the whole school. So you had like 200-300 people.
Yeah, like the school gym, any kid who was in the show, all of their parents and their grandparents or whatever. So it's just like, they weren't there to see like rock music, but it was like an actual crowd to play to for the first time. So it was cool.
And it was funny too, because it was like, I mean, The Used, that specific song was like pretty heavy, like in your face,
loud,
right? It's a very loud song. The guitar riff is kind of difficult to play, so the way that we did it was I ended up doing lead vocals, and I mean, I guess my singing's decent, but it's nothing like spectacular or anything like that. And then I played rhythm guitar, which made no sense because the actual band only plays with one guitar, so it wasn't even necessary. But I kind of felt more comfortable playing guitar and singing at the same time rather than just being a vocalist. But what happened was, I don't know if you remember this. So it was me and Ryan were both on the stage, and because we had to set up your drum kit beforehand, your drum kit was at the base, like on the main floor of the gym,
to the left of the stage. Yeah.
So right before the show, or right before we went on, they literally announced us, and then what was like, I think the power bar, everything that we had plugged in for all of our amps and all the microphones were not on. And I'm like, oh crap, like how are we going to perform this song? So I had to literally, like, the curtains are literally opening and you just see me running to the side of the stage, clicking, like looking to see what was going on, and then finding out that the power bar wasn't even turned on, which they were supposed to do for us. And then I had to like run back, and I'm just like all flustered at this point. The song you guys had already started playing.
Yeah, we're already playing.
Yeah, because thankfully, like, there's no vocals right away. You play that one main guitar riff, and then
it's like chorus without any vocals for the first like 4 bars.
Yeah, exactly.
But
so
I remember watching that back because my parents like took a video of it. So I remember, just watching, and you come out, you start playing, you're like, unplug your thing, replug your thing, and you like run off to outside.
I'm like, no, you guys messed us up. No, but it was fun. Everybody actually like really liked it, and then everybody became like a huge Used fan after. It, like in our school, everybody suddenly started listening to rock music, hardcore, punk, all that kind of stuff. When before that, it was very like if anybody listened to rock, it was very like generic type of rock. Just
you're pioneers for your school.
Yeah, exactly.
The talent shows were cool, but it was always someone who did like some choreographed dance that ended up winning.
Yeah,
like,
of course,
the singing girl. You know?
Yeah. I think we got like honorable mention or something. I don't even know.
I think we got like 3rd or 2nd at least.
The weird thing was that it was even like some sort of competition, which didn't even really like make sense. If it's just a talent show, you're just like, I don't know, whatever. But it was fun. I remember before the actual show, that was the first time I ever put makeup on my face. There was a bunch of girls, so we were like, it was just like mascara, eyeliner, that sort of thing, just to kind of
the whole
fit.
Emo thing.
Yeah, the whole like MCR kind of vibe, right? So and I remember at the time, because I have like really blonde hair, and my mom would never let me dye my hair, and I always wanted to dye it black, and for some reason she always had this belief that if you dye your hair black, it'll never be the same ever again, which literally makes no sense, because once it grows out, you just cut it, and you have
your natural hair just grows back in. Yeah.
So I'm just like, what are you talking about?
I think at that time I had red hair.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I remember that. Oh my god. If we could find pictures one day.
Like blood red hair. Yeah.
We need to see this video.
Well, I as I was telling you guys when I got here, I have all this old stuff from my mom's house that I need to go through. So there's a bunch of old like family videos and stuff in there. So if I find our talent show performance, I'll upload it as like an unlisted video to my channel, and I'll send you the link or something.
So,
that's cool. Yeah, it'd be really funny to see if you actually do have it, because I was curious about that even before the show, and then I just completely like forgot about it. I'm like, oh my god, that'd be so funny.
It's got to be somewhere.
Oh, for sure. But yeah, that's how that all started, and then we kind of just stayed friends after that, and then we kind of all like moved around like amongst different bands, and you got hooked up with some of the other guys later on, I think, with like Ryan, Fabian, and all those people.
Going through high school and doing the whole band thing with everybody, like drummer, I don't know if it's the same at everyone's high school, but drummers seem to be like
rare.
Yeah,
very rare.
They're very scarce. It's hard to find a drummer. So it was
especially a good drummer. That's the thing. Because there's drummers, but they're not very good, right? Steven was fantastic. But at a young age, that's the thing, right? Because when you were like 11, 12, you could literally beat the shit out of those drums for a little kid, right?
Yeah. So
and I mean, you're not exactly the biggest dude on the block, right? So.
No. But yeah, because I was like the only drummer, I ended up playing in all sorts of bands, whether they weren't serious or not, and eventually you kind of find the ones that are willing to actually take it a little bit more seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I was in grade 2 when I started taking drum lessons. So I was like 7 or 8 years old. So I've been playing drums for more than half my life.
Yeah. And you still play to this day, right?
Not
somewhat.
Yeah,
a
not
little bit here and there.
Not really. It's been a couple years since I played. So you know, the other week I rented out some time at this rehearsal space down the road. Like bands can go. When I was there, like it sounded like somebody was recording like a hip hop like a hip hop album or something. Yeah, like they so. I guess anyone can go and rent the studios out and do whatever they want, and they have just like a basic drum kit and like all sorts of amps and whatever. So I brought my cymbals and put on some tunes and just jammed some drums for a couple hours. And it was like the first time I played drums in years, so it felt good. But what I wanted to do was they had the PA system, right? Like, so I wanted to play my music through the amps, so it'd be like super, super loud. Because even if you have the headphones on and you got like your Spotify volume up like all the way, when you start playing drums, the drums are louder than the earbuds.
Right.
So like I wanted to blast it over the PA, but like I had all these little cables and dongles, but I just didn't have the one that I needed to plug it into the PA. So I was like, I didn't get that full experience I was looking for, but it was like, this is my first time going to one of these places.
So what is it like going to one of those? Is it just like a small room that you just go into and it's like soundproof? You could just do literally whatever you want.
Yeah.
Like crank it up.
They had like it was a pretty big room, and they had like you know, the half cabs or whatever you call them. They had the cabs with the heads. They had like 2 or 3 of those. They had a bunch of mics. They had a whole soundboard and PA system. So like if you had a band and you wanted to go practice, all you would need to do is bring like your guitars and that's it. Like they have everything there. It was like
just plug and go basically. Yeah.
It was a really nice room, and it was only like $50 an hour or something, so like $100 for the 2 hours I was there.
Yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah
That'd be good for like bands that don't really have like, you know, space and whatever, right? Just kind of go in there, do your rehearsal for a couple hours, get ready for your next show, or whether you're working on like, you know, an album coming up or whatever it might be.
Or especially if you're like out of town, if you're touring or something and you want to practice or jam. Seems convenient, you know. It is cool.
Definitely.
You play any time recently?
Me?
Yeah.
No, dude. I think my career is over. My music career has ended. My guitar has been sitting in my basement for years now. I kind of got back into it years ago, but I've been so busy. I just don't have the time, right? Like I'm always constantly busy doing something, whether it's working here on the podcast, getting content ready for YouTube, and it's like I'm on a serious grind. So on that point, I basically took my guitar and said, hey, this would look really cool in the podcast studio, and now it's literally right there on the wall.
Nice little decoration.
Right? It looks cool. Like the color kind of blends in with everything else, and I don't know, it just kind of fit in very well. Maybe one day I'll probably get another guitar, just something that maybe I can play at home, maybe just an acoustic or something, just to kind of have a little bit of fun. But it's kind of like riding a bike, though. Like as soon as you,
I was literally about to ask you, like, is guitar like you never forget how to play it?
For the most part, I think certain songs you'll forget initially, but as soon as you start like getting and doing it over and over. So if you remember, like, probably when you were younger and just learning how to do certain songs, you would probably have to play the song like 150 to 200 times before you could master it, depending on the difficulty of the song. And same thing for guitar. It's kind of just like muscle memory, remembering where, you know, the chords, where your fingers are supposed to go. And at first, if you haven't played a certain song in years, you might, you know, muck it up at first, but then eventually you'll remember where it goes, or you can, you know, look it up online and find the what was it, tabs, guitar tabs. I think guitar tabs when I was growing up was like the thing, where it's literally just numbers on the strings and it shows you where to put your fingers essentially, right? But yeah, so it is kind of like muscle memory, but I wouldn't know at this point because I haven't done it in such a long period of time. But yeah, and then I still have like a half, like I was telling you before, I have a half stack, like this massive amp that's like I don't know, 4 feet tall with the head and everything. And it's a great amp, and it cost a lot of money back in the day. And I bought it thinking I actually had a future in music, and it's just been sitting there for years. I had it broke at one point. I had it repaired before. I remember Musician's Choice. I think you worked there, didn't you?
No,
or you were.
But I frequented that store.
Well, yeah, because they had like a really good drumming section, right? So, but yeah, I had it repaired, and then it's literally just been sitting there ever since at home, and I don't know what to do with it, whether I'm just going to sell it soon just to get it out of my face because it's massive and it takes up a lot of space. But yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it was a fun time back, especially in high school. I remember doing like a lot of random shows, and the funniest thing was I remember we were having a party at you remember Marvin? So I was in a band with this guy Marvin and a bunch of other people, and Marvin was a drummer, but he was still kind of like noobish, like he was still kind of just learning, and he could play certain songs and he was okay, but then there was one song that he couldn't play, but we really wanted to do it. I think it was From First to Last, Note to Self. And it was so fast that he couldn't do it. He couldn't pull the song off, and Steve was actually at the party. I'm like, yo, Steve, you want to come play Note to Self? He's like, hell yeah. I'm like, all right, jump on the kit. And we killed it. We actually just demolished it. So, and that was with Ryan, who could actually legitimately scream relatively decently.
And that's one of those songs that I never really like learned, but like when you just learn by ear, like by listening, and you listen to an album so many times, you kind of just like start kind of playing the song like in your head or like on your lap when you're on the bus or whatever.
You're like imagining the movements.
And then so like once you actually like get on the kit, you're kind of like you can kind of like imagine the song as you're playing through it, like in your head. So it's like you kind of know it without ever having played it before, just because you've heard it so many times. You know what the drum parts are. Yeah. So it's like you might not have all the exact little bells and whistles on the little fills and intricate little parts, but like you got like all the transitions down and stuff like that just from like listening to it a billion times. So I think that was always super fun about just playing by ear.
Oh yeah, for sure.
You ever pick up any instruments, Mo?
Nope. I did drum lessons with our friend Amrit twice.
Yeah. I remember that you bought an electronic drum kit.
Oh, I did. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I bought an electronic drum kit once.
You know what it was? Is that we went to a show, and I think it was a band that Steve was in, and you were just inspired.
Oh, hell yeah!
You're just absolutely inspired.
Yeah, guys, there was this band. They don't play anymore. It was called oh my god, I was about to say
I don't even
From
remember
First
your
to
name.
Last. I was about to say From First to Last. It was called Breathe Beneath, and I loved going to their shows in Brampton, and I missed them so much. It may be a band that Steve was a part of.
The basement. I remember the basement party, and then there was a couple of All Stars shows.
I was gonna say 2 or 3 shows at All Stars.
There was so many shows at All Stars. That was like the spot.
Right.
They just like had a show every Friday or every Saturday.
Yeah. So on the previous show, we were talking about. I brought up there was a club that a lot of bands used to perform at, and it was on Queen Street and Bramalea. Do you remember that place? What was the name? The Hype.
Is that what it was called?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Do you remember that place?
Yeah.
Dude, that was like crackhead central. Like it was that place was
I remember I went to like one of my first ever like shows there, like local shows, and literally like a week or 2 later they closed the place down.
Right?
And the show that I was at, like a fight broke out, security had to like escort people out. Like it was just not a good neighborhood.
No, that was a rough place. And then it closed down, and then it turned into the Club on Queen, I think.
Yes.
For a period of time.
Yes.
And then after that, I think it turned into something else for like a very short period of time.
Town Talk.
Town Talk, yeah. And it just closed down completely, and they demolished the whole building, just like flattened it.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. In terms of music, what got you into music in general? Like, where did you start off when it came to like your musical interests?
It's weird, but it's probably like the church.
The church?
To be honest, like I grew up going to this Pentecostal church, and I don't know if it's this way at every Pentecostal church, because I've went to different churches of different denominations, and they're all different. But the one I went to, they're like very, very big on the music. So like the first hour, first 45 minutes, they're just doing, you know, the worship songs, but like they were really, really good. Like the drummer is phenomenal. The youth pastor is the guy that like plays the piano. They got like a bassist. Sometimes they would have like this lady with like a harp. Like they would like go balls to the wall with the music at this church. So it's probably where like the love started. And then like my dad always liked music, so he was always playing like these Christian rock bands. My dad was big on the church, so ever since I was little, he would take me to concerts. I remember I don't have the memory because I was asleep at the concert, but my dad tells me there was this show that we went to, and the drummer, like he was on this platform, and the platform like lifted up and started like spinning around, and like the drummer was basically like 90 degrees, like spinning around drumming, and like I was just asleep for the whole thing. Just like a 4 or 5 year old just snoozing while like this huge concert is going on around me. You know?
That sounds like a Slipknot show. Though wasn't it?
Or Travis Barker.
Did he do the same thing?
Yeah,
Many times.
yeah. Joey would do that kind of stuff.
That's what. Joey Jordison would do the exact same thing. That was like one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Where it was because he was on like that platform. He's like strapped in. He's just going crazy on all these. I'm like, oh, this is something. But after that, so you started out in the church. And then
I think music has just always been a part of my household. Yeah.
That's good. I think music is just, I don't know, it just speaks to people in a different way. There's such like a different variety of music that people are interested in. And then later on you started to get into, heavier types of rock music, whether it was hardcore, post-hardcore, or emo type of stuff. How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, so I have an older sibling, and they were really into Linkin Park. I think they were just getting into high school, and I was like 4 years younger than them. So like Hybrid Theory had probably just come out, and then a couple of years later Meteora. So they were really into Linkin Park. So I remember in like grade 7 and 8, me and my buddy Keith, we were like the two like biggest Linkin Park fans ever, and we would just like rap the songs like back and forth to each other. And I think from there, like getting into the other bands, just playing with other people kind of expanded your music interests. Like the band, one of the earlier bands I was in throughout like grade 9, the early parts of high school, with Ryan and Peter and Fabian. Like Ryan loved like the pop punk and like the more,
Blink, Sum 41,
punk music. And then we got Peter, our other guitarist, who's like into the black metal.
Oh, like, my God, Behemoth.
Yeah, the most like
that.
darkest, grungiest. You can't even understand what the guy's saying because he's just squealing like a pig the whole time. And it's like I to this day I can't even get into that. But it's like those kind of.
I tried, but
and it's like that's the thing. You meet these people who like they feel so passionate about this stuff. So like you give it a shot. You try it. So. Eventually, I kind of found, the exact kind of flavor of heaviness that I like. It's not exactly the black metal, but I do like the heavier stuff.
Yeah, it's just a little bit more. I don't know. It's just different. Hits different.
Yeah.
Right. It's like a good combination of actual vocals that you can actually understand what they're saying instead of, like you said, screaming the entire time. Like I remember trying to listen to after meeting Peter, after trying to listen to bands that were like
Opeth and Amon Amarth.
Yeah. And it was just like what? How do you guys listen to this? And you remember my cousin, he was into that stuff too. I mean, he was into other types of metal as well, but his like main like bread and butter for him when it came to music was exactly stuff like that. And then I think he ended up getting involved in some other band, and unfortunately now we don't talk anymore because he's a dick, but so that's what it is with that. But so I guess, and then later on, I think we all would periodically go to shows. I mean, me and you went to so many shows.
But the one show I remember going to Steve with is the final Dead and Divine show.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
In Toronto.
Was a doozy. I didn't even really know that band that well. But
you came with me because I wanted to go.
Right. Yeah. That was a good time though. They played really well. It's unfortunate that they stopped playing. But did they ever get back together, or was that pretty much it?
And like every now and then I'll be listening to like Spotify and like it'll get through, you know, my on repeat playlist and just start kind of shuffling into related things, and like a Dead and Divine song will come on and I'm just like, oh, my heart. My heart.
And they don't have the machines we are on Spotify. It really upsets me.
They don't?
No.
I'm pretty sure they do.
No, I looked like within the last 2 weeks. I was looking for Neon Jesus, and yeah, that's not there.
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure. I gotta show you. I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure.
right. Maybe it's saved on your phone. You can play it from there, actually.
Oh, maybe I have. Maybe they took it down and I have like an old relic.
Certainly, it's possible.
I don't know. The album art is probably like burned into my mind. I'm imagining seeing it on my phone on Spotify, but maybe it never actually.
Maybe
existed.
it's just actually in your phone and you just didn't realize.
So they're here and they're not playable.
Oh, okay,
no.
okay.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Why would they take it off?
So it technically does show up, or is that just if you had it?
So this is
before?
what I'm looking at. I clicked on someone's playlist for Dead and Divine.
Yeah.
And so at one time a few years ago, I was listening to it on Spotify. So it was there before. Someone made a playlist with it, and now it's, I don't know if the
I wonder why.
licensing probably.
No,
Maybe.
I mean, I'm not gonna check now, but you might be right, because like the other day, the songs that were coming on random were from the Antimacy album.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks ago, when I was jamming on the drums, I was playing songs off of the Fanciful. So like I don't actually know for sure. I cannot confirm or deny, you know?
Me personally, I don't
good
even really
bands.
know how to use Spotify. I mean, I don't have the full version. I usually just stream music off of YouTube or like stuff that I have already in my phone. And I recently just became a YouTube Premium member, so
I haven't converted to YouTube Premium yet, but I've had like the Spotify Premium for ages, and like there was one week where like I got a new phone and like I couldn't figure out what my login was, and I'm like, how did I ever use Spotify on a free account? It's so annoying. It's like every other
Ads.
song you get, you get an ad, and you can only skip so many songs too. Like it's ridiculous.
yeah, because you have to like it comes up with like the one long ad, and then it's like, now you'll enjoy half an hour of ad-free music or whatever the hell you're listening
So
to.
I've just been on a family plan with my sisters for
Right.
as long as I can
Smart.
remember.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Smart, yeah.
Yeah, for me, I've been meaning to do YouTube Premium for such a long time because I listen to like a lot of podcasts. I listen to a lot of just random music that comes through on YouTube.
I've been
whatever.
debating getting it just so I can like download stuff to watch like on the streetcar without using my data.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So the reason why I got it was because recently we went on a trip and we were heading to Vancouver. We got into Alberta. We were there, and then basically once you pass Banff, there's no service for hours, right? So I'm like, we all need things to listen to, and I'm just like, there's only so much music that I have on my phone. So I'm like, okay, let me just get YouTube Premium. So basically, as we were driving in to some point, we were listening to some stuff, and then it would cut in and out. Right. So we're listening to like either a podcast, maybe like Joe Rogan or something, and then just like random music that I would select on YouTube, and it would just randomly stop. Then I'd have to switch to stuff that was on my actual phone. And then at some point we got into like, I think cam loops or something. And that's when I decided, I'm like, screw it, I'm doing YouTube Premium. Finally, I finally subscribed to it, and I downloaded a whole bunch of stuff as fast as I possibly could.
Right as you were about to lose service.
Exactly.
Oh,
And then
my
because
goodness.
then the next like 4 hours from Kamloops to Vancouver is basically the same thing. You're just driving up and down through mountains, and there's very little service as soon as you come into the valleys and stuff, right? And I'm like, I'm not dealing with this crap for another 4 hours, right? So I jumped and I finally got it, and it was a very good decision. So there you go, YouTube. We hopefully you recommend this video because we give you a sweet shout out for YouTube Premium and how fantastic it is. But yeah, apart from that, so how many bands would you say that you were in? Like, how many were you involved with?
Oh God.
Too many to remember.
Like I'd say like maybe like 3 serious ones, and then like another 3, 4, 5 kind of just for fun ones. You know?
What was which one was your favorite that you were involved with?
Probably Breathe Beneath.
Yeah.
I often think back to those times. There was some like times just jamming in Nick's basement, the vocalist. We would play at his house, and there were some moments where like just in practice, not even at shows, just when we're all practicing, there was just like you know, like you kind of get into the zone, but it was like a feeling where like everybody was in the same zone.
Yeah, you're all in
you know,
tune, right?
and it's like we're not even really, you know, like looking at our instruments or what we're doing. It's just kind of in the moment, and everyone is just, you know, playing perfectly, and you know, just I don't know. I've never had those kind of moments with any other group of musicians, so it was like. There's a special thing with those guys.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Did you go? You went furthest with Breathe Beneath, right? Like that band could have. You did. You played a lot of shows. Did you like go out to Hamilton and play and kind of like tour?
I guess we did do the most. I mean, I felt like the most recent band was Words Like Wildfire was the most serious, I guess, just because we were all older
Adulted.
and like we kind of understood
make
you know,
or break at this point, right?
yeah, and we understood, you know, we kind of have to treat this like a business, and like we all took lessons from like the previous bands that we were in, and when, like we were all kind of done high school at that point, so we were, you know, a little older, and so I feel like that one was a bit more serious, but I feel like with Breathe Beneath, like I think we went further, I would say. Like there was some weekends where like we would play like you know, like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you know, drive out and sleep in the van type of thing, and we did that like 2 or 3 times, little mini tours we would call them, and it was cool. Like there's one time we were out in some, you know, butt fuck nowhere town, and and it's like we were opening for this band called the Bunny the Bear. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of them, but they were like they're like a techno hardcore band, kind of like Abandon All Ships type of thing.
Okay, so like a Devil Wears Prada type
yeah, but more cheesy.
Okay.
I couldn't stand them, but we were opening for them in this town I've never heard of, and it's like we'd be playing, and you'd see people like singing our lyrics, and it's like
so cool.
I don't even know the name of this town, and apparently there's people here that like
They knew who
know
you
our
were.
songs. Yeah.
Wow.
That's
and
cool.
like with that band, like half of the songs that we played, like I wrote the lyrics to.
Nice.
So it's like it's really cool seeing like random people that you've never met before in your life singing your songs. It's like, wow. Like how do they even know I exist? You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
The last album, I think it was The Oceans, I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
I would listen to that album back to forth.
I'm pretty sure I still have
it. Was
it
it 5 or
somewhere.
I wish I could find it. 5 or 6 songs on that album. And
Yeah,
or maybe the last song was called Oceans. Or
Yeah, so I
like
guess
that?
I guess we did 2 albums. Yeah, so I guess Breathe Beneath would be the band that like did the most with. Yeah.
I don't know. You guys were your music was just, there was something about it that you could just tell that you guys all kind of clicked. The way that the sound was, the way the lyrics were written, the audio was actually like mastered properly for the most part. I know you guys probably, one of you guys actually ended up doing it, like you guys had a home studio or something, right?
Yeah, the first one we all did in Mike's bedroom.
Yeah. But I mean, it worked. Like at the time, it sounded like
Yeah.
for a bunch of like, you know, random kids that just wrote us a bunch of songs, then literally recorded it in somebody's bedroom. Like it actually sounded really good.
Like the second one, we started to kind of get a taste of how much work it is to like make a really polished product. Because like at first we did what people call pre-production. So we kind of recorded all the songs as if we were making an album, but like we were treating it as if it's like the rough draft. And
Right.
it's like, in order to go into a professional studio with a professional producer, you don't just go in with nothing. They're like, okay, send me your pre-production, and if I think it has legs, then yeah, you can come record here. So it's like we first had to put in a lot of work just to record it on our own, and then we had to go record it basically a second time with a professional and pay a ton of money. And so it's like we really got a taste of how hard it is to be a band. You know?
Oh, yeah,
it's
for
a lot of work.
Oh yeah, I remember those days. I mean, we had no future essentially, but I remember it was just like there was always people who wanted to take control of things, and people would argue over like the stupidest little trivial thing that just didn't make any sense, and it was just like, whatever. This is just too complicated sometimes, right?
Yeah,
So
I think because at the end of the day, it's a business. Like your band, if your band is going to be your full-time job, it is your your
exactly.
business. So you have to treat it like that. And there's not everybody is like a business person. So you kind of have to get lucky and have like at least one guy in your band who is down to like take on that role. And so like, you know, some bands it's just, you know, just 5 guys who want to goof around, and you don't have that one person who can really be the manager type of thing.
Take leadership.
And yeah, in those young kind of high school, college bands, you need that one guy who's actually taking things seriously to rally everyone, you know?
the one adult in the group,
Yeah.
right? So, and that was my problem when we were younger, is I would try and kind of take leadership role because nobody else was really doing it. Nobody else was like actually trying to book live shows and try and get serious about writing our own music. And then they just wanted to stay as a cover band. I'm just like, okay, you're not going to do anything by being a cover band for the rest of our lives, right? If you actually want to be a professional musician, you got to write your own stuff, right? So nobody's going to pay you in an absorbent amount of money. You're not going to be super successful by being a Beatles cover band at the end of the day. Even if you could play a damn good Beatles song at the end of the day, it's not going to really, you know, do what ultimately you want it to do. So you got to try and somebody's got to take leadership and try and, you know, dictate a certain path as to where you want to go. And some other people couldn't handle that, but whatever, those days are over. And then so after music, then you did YouTube for a period of time, but you were like, I think Steve's dying. He needs a second because he's choking. But yeah, so basically at one point Steve got involved in YouTube. He's literally dying right. He drank coffee and went down the wrong way. So what was he doing? He was like gaming.
Yeah, it started with, if I'm not mistaken, his biggest on his main channel, the biggest thing he was doing was playing Super Smash Brothers, which is a Nintendo game. That Super Smash Brothers is a game where they incorporated all, like, or very many of the characters from the Mario universe and then the different Nintendo IPs all together in one game fighting each other. And then there's been different versions of the games, and yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think your own personal channel really took off with playing Smash Brothers, I think, right?
Yeah, sorry about that. I
It's okay.
down the wrong pipe, as they say.
It's okay.
Felt like I was saw my life flash before my eyes for a second there.
I was like, there's a trouble coming. So you started out with, so what started you on YouTube in the first, was it like the vloggy type of stuff that you originally started with?
Yeah. So my first like ever channel was called
What was it? Shit Steven Says, I think?
even before that.
Oh, there's another one?
I forgot about that.
I forgot about that.
So even before that, I had this channel called Shock and Terror, and which is like a song by CKY, this old band. And I would basically just, you know, like take my parents' little digital camera and set it up on the coffee table and point it at the TV screen and make like gameplay videos of whatever I was doing at the time. And I would have friends come over and we'd play Smash Brothers, and I would just like film us playing and put it up there type of thing. But then there was like a gap in between like high school and college, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. And it was kind of at the time when like Niga Higa and Jenna Marbles and those old school YouTubers were really, they were really in their prime. So I was like, I'm gonna make you know, these kind of you know, not vlog style, but just kind of talking to the camera, editorial type of content, you know, nonsense.
Story time.
Story time, ranting about stuff, making jokes, whatever. So I did that for a while. And then I guess I just got really, into Smash Brothers at some point, and I just started making content about that.
And that went pretty far. You did fairly well on doing the Smash Brothers. So when I remember, so basically what happened was between high school and many years after that, everybody kind of, went their own way, right? Whoever moved out of town, whoever went to college, university, whatever it was, whoever started a business. You ended up going, I think, to college. You did like radio and
Yeah, I
stuff
went
like
to
that?
Humber
Yeah,
for radio.
so you started doing that. So you're already technically learning things involved with media. And I took a different direction, and I was basically working with Moshi at the time. We were doing like finance, and then that, as graduated into starting another little independent business where we were selling sports jerseys, which eventually graduated into many different things. And at one point, I think you were working at Best Buy.
Yeah.
And I went to Best Buy looking for something.
You
and
poached me.
And
Printer.
well,
You were
I didn't
looking for a
poach.
printer or something.
Oh yeah, was it a print? Yeah, I
think
needed a
'cause
printer
that's
or something.
that's the department you were in, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Was that? Oh, okay. Oh yeah.
I was-
Oh yeah. So you were posting about like ink and stuff online. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, I guess I might as well just go to Best Buy and buy a printer off of Steve, right? And then I spoke to you, and I already knew that you had kind of like involvement. You knew how to do YouTube, and you were involved. You had learned media in school and stuff like that. And I'm like, how would you like a job, right? And he's like, okay, cool. So from my company, I ended up hiring you, and when you had joined us, I made you kind of like do all like the media and the marketing and all that stuff, and we had developed like this crazy website, and then the company switched from one name to another, and then graduated into selling more like sporting goods, like hockey stuff and all sorts of stuff. We were trying to get into everything, but the main stuff was like sports jerseys and hockey equipment. But you were like amazing at it, and I think it's because you already had a lot of experience doing your own YouTube. And when Moshi and I were looking at it, because we had never done YouTube before that, and we're like, oh man, Steve's like this really famous big YouTuber, right? We were kind of like looking at the numbers, and it was like, oh wow, that's like, we were kind of in shock and awe at that point. Just it was impressive, right? Because we had never seen anybody who had done it. And then so what was it like kind of working? So you went into gaming, you did a lot of like tournaments, you actually organized tournaments, right?
Yeah. So I think when I was maybe like 13, 14, I had always been into Smash, and then I was playing Melee with a couple of friends, the GameCube one, and we were just kind of playing casually as you do with your friends, and then YouTube starts getting a little bit more popular, and eventually you search like Super Smash Brothers Melee on YouTube, and you find like this tournament match, and you're like, what the hell? So you start watching it, and you're like, is this sped up? Are they playing on like 2 times speed or something?
They were
like
actually
this,
just that good.
Yeah, this is crazy. It's like, what am I watching? Is this the same game I've been playing? And then like you just go down this rabbit hole. And so throughout high school, I was really into competitive Melee. Like I would go to all sorts of tournaments, travel like super, super far. My dad or someone else's dad would drive us out, and they just kind of like sit around or like go to the local movie theater, because we'd be at this tournament for like 7-8 hours. And so, yeah, that kind of, I guess that combined with the Comtech class in high school. I was thinking about this earlier. I was like, what made me kind of get into like content creation? And I think it's that Comtech class. And for those who don't know, it's like this course you can take in high school. It's called Communications Technology, and it's kind of like a baby steps into like anything digital. So there's like a couple of weeks where you do Photoshop. There's a couple of weeks where you do basic website coding, and then you do like video editing. And our high school had this weekly or bi-weekly like little TV program that they would put on, because each room had a TV. So like the kids in the Comtech class would spend all week like making these little skits and like doing updates on like the school sports teams or news going around the school.
CYTV.
Yeah, so it's like my first little foray into like making content and having it consumed by other people and like just hearing people talk about it. And I think that kind of that back and forth, that kind of really propelled me into, you know, making videos once the opportunity arose.
Yeah, because so basically when we had the company, you were already relatively successful on YouTube. You had, I'm looking at your channel now, you still have 34,400 subscribers. Let me see if I can bring this up here, because I didn't set this up properly, so nothing's gonna show up right away. Just give me a second.
I reflect on
There it
it
is.
a lot because when I look back,
You almost have 10 million total views, man.
Yeah.
yeah, and when I look at people now, I see like much smaller channels getting much less views than I was on average, and they still do it full time. So I'm like, I always think back and I'm like, what was I doing wrong? Was I not monetizing it properly? Like, why wasn't I able to make the push to do it full time?
Doing it wrong. Okay, so it's literally talking about the income from it. You were getting good views, I mean, over time.
Yeah,
It's just
like
not being able to, like you said, get something consistent.
Yeah,
for
there
income.
was a point in time where like I was putting out a video every week and it would get like 50K, 75K, 100K views, and like I see smaller channels, they put out a video every week and it gets like 20K, 30K views, and they're still doing it like full time. Like they talk about it like it's their full-time job, and it's like, so what was I doing wrong? Like, why wasn't I able to make that step into doing it full time? So like I reflect on it every now and then, and if I were to try it again, like I really want to like do it the right way, I guess.
Can you give us a taste of what you think that is? What is the right way if you were to... Okay, so say you were talking to somebody like maybe me, perhaps, who wants to be a full-time YouTuber.
I have kind of an opinion on what that would be.
I guess
I know what I've developed and what I've known works, but it's good. Share your opinion first.
I guess like my first step would be to like go through all my monetization and Google AdSense settings, make sure everything is like turned on properly to begin with. And then there's other things that people do now, like Patreon and things like that. So there's other ways I could, and like YouTube memberships and things like that. So there's other income streams aside from just the Google AdSense revenue that people are able to take advantage of now. And at the time when I was like really into YouTube, like Patreon wasn't really a thing. I'm not saying that because I didn't have a Patreon, that's why I didn't succeed.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure there's other reasons, but like there are things now that make it easier to make an income than it was before. And when I was doing it, like for the first year or two, you couldn't actually monetize gaming content.
Right.
In order to monetize gaming content, you had to go through an MCN.
Right.
And they would take like
20%.
yeah, like 30, 40%. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so an MCN, for those listening, an MCN is a company for the most part, right? And they you're gonna have to explain it better than I would, but they have a bunch of creators who are making stuff for them, and then they go to people doing the ads and
so they
say,
basically,
pay up.
it's a, I don't remember what the actual acronym stands for, but
it's a multi-channel network.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way I see it, I've known a lot of people who were part of MCNs, including yourself. I know other YouTubers who were, and a lot of them regretted it.
Yeah, like
Big
there's
time.
there's no point to do it, especially nowadays. But like back then, you couldn't monetize gaming content, so you had to go through
Different channels.
You had to go through one of those companies and have them do it for you, type of thing. And yeah, I think kind of things like that, and just not maybe monetizing to the fullest extent. It was never really something that I could say like, okay, this is enough income to do this full time. So like I never took that leap, and then eventually I just like you get burned out, you get demotivated. It's like you're working your 9 to 5, and then you got to come home, try to make content, but on top of that, you got to make dinner.
Yeah.
You got to do all this other, household stuff, right? And it's like, there's only so many hours, and you just get tired, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. So the way, So for me, what I learned very early on is the most important thing about YouTube is your basically your character, right? And the most successful channels that I've seen are people based on people, right? Being yourself, or playing, you know, obviously a certain character, maybe, you know, bigging yourself up a little bit. Especially like, so if you look at the way my friend Brent did it, a lot of his, I don't know if you, are you familiar with Brent TV or the SpongeBob popsicle guy?
No, no.
No? Okay. So he's a very good friend of mine who we've known each other since we maybe had less than like 1,000 subs each. I think I had just over 1,000. He had like 200 or 300 when we met. Now he's over 3 million subscribers.
Wow.
He's got like 6-7 million followers on TikTok. We still talk almost every day. The way he was able to do it is he found a trend, number one, that worked. Trends are fantastic on YouTube, but if you don't develop your character, people are subscribing for your trend, which means they're not following for you. So what he did and what his advantage was is that Brent is his own character, right? And it's funny because on camera is very similar to the type of person he is, where he's sort of a comedian, prankster, very loud, funny, and he's literally almost that exact same person in person. So he kind of created this character, added it to this trend, added it with something that's very popular like SpongeBob, and everything, the whole chemistry just kind of worked, and everybody just fell in love with it.
Yeah. Well, he,
right?
he sounds like the performer type, right? Like he was born to live in the digital age, you know?
Yeah. that's exactly what it was. Like his it's just his persona. It's like he came out of the womb and was just ready to be on camera instantly. Because if you watch like old videos, like he'll post like the stupidest thing on Instagram and it's from like years ago and it's just hilarious. So like, for example, the other day he posts on Instagram if he should post old videos of him singing, and it was a video of him, I guess he was like pretending to do karaoke and somebody's like holding his phone or something, and it's that song that Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, and then he just literally starts screaming at the top of his lungs, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. But that's literally the type of person Brent is, right? He's that person in person, like genuinely. So he's got the character, he's got, you know, the ideas and the trends, and he put it all together and it just worked like magic, right? And then I've seen a lot of other YouTubers kind of in my niche, where whether it's haunted or, you know, you do kind of travel type of stuff or abandoned places or whatever that might be. The most important thing that I found was actually having that personality, that character. And obviously it develops over time. It doesn't just happen overnight where you film your first video, because to be honest, the first like 1,000 videos, you're probably not going to know what the hell you're doing, right? And you're going to feel really stupid when you're talking to the camera by yourself, and there's a whole bunch of people like across the street staring at you because you look like a weirdo, because you're literally talking to yourself, but you're not, right? To my brain now, when I hold the camera up and I'm looking at it like this, my brain automatically says you're talking to, you know, 10,000, 20,000 people that are going to watch this video. And that's the way, like, my brain, I've gotten so used to it that it's just, that's how it's processing, right? I know that I'm literally not talking to myself, but in the early stages, you feel like an idiot because you literally feel like you're talking to yourself, right? But then you get so used to it, you develop your character. And for me, I feel like my character is the same on camera that it is on off camera. Like I don't change. I don't create this other persona that's a completely different person on camera versus off camera. If you meet me in person, I'm pretty much the same. I don't know if you guys would agree or disagree, but nothing really is, there's nothing different. Right? And the one thing that I've kind of liked, that I find I set myself apart from a lot of other people, is just because I'm silly and I literally have that I don't give a fuck type of attitude, where I will just say stupid things because I think it's funny, and if you don't laugh with me, well, then that's your problem. Like, I literally do not care. That's just, I've always been like that, and I kind of got used to that even being on camera, where I could just say or do stupid things. Like, I remember one day I was in Ottawa and I was with Moshi, and he brought me to this Lebanese place, and they make this thing called kak, which is Kaak, and it's like this sesame bread with like cheese and stuff in it. We filmed an entire vlog. Well, I filmed an entire vlog of us literally driving around Ottawa, holding up the food and yelling out to people out the window, asking if they want cack.
You want some
right?
cack?
Yeah. But I would subtitle it KAAK because I wasn't actually saying cock. I was saying cack, right? So, and for me, we thought it was the funniest thing ever. So for me, I really enjoy making content like that. And I feel like people can kind of see themselves in that at the same time, where they can kind of relate in a way versus making this fake persona of being completely different.
Yeah. Thinking back, one of the things I would do differently is, right, like I kind of positioned my whole channel as like this like news source. Like it was Smash Central, like your number one source for Super Smash Brothers news. And it wasn't really personable. Like I was kind of like trying to be like this news organization, like giving the news to the people. And it's like at the time, like it seemed cool, it seemed professional, but like on these social platforms, you really want to create that one-to-one connection.
Right.
So like
be relatable.
Yeah. Like if I were to do it again, I would do things differently for sure.
Yeah. Do you think at this time, or some maybe in the near future, maybe even 5 or 10 years down the road, do you think you would give it another shot? Like, do you think you would do it again? Something different?
Yeah, I think about it often. I just like I need to figure out like what it is I want to do. And like lately I've been really having the itch to flex the creative muscle, so to speak. And the last couple of years I've been really getting into just thinking about like game design and like the things that like if you put this in your game, how is it going to make the player feel? And like things like that, like not just like the surface level stuff, but like the deeper side of game design. And I kind of want to start making videos kind of exploring card games, because I've been playing a lot of card games.
Hearthstone?
Yeah, like I've been playing Hearthstone for like 8-9 years. A year or so ago, I got into Magic the Gathering. And I don't know, I think it would be really awesome to like develop my own card game or work on one of those card games. And it's one of those things where like it's hard to kind of get your foot in the door with no experience. And one of the things that kind of happens every now and then is like somebody will be making like custom cards like for years and years and years, or be making videos about like game theory about this and this and this, and then, you know, five years down the line they get hired as like a developer on this game just because they've proven that like they can think about it on, you know, this much deeper granular level, and they've been just doing it because they love it, not because they're getting paid to do it. It's just like the content that they're putting out there. So it's like I feel like it would help me kind of flex that creative muscle, but also help me explore different interests and maybe different career paths. Because it's something I think about. Like I've been kind of in the same career for a while now, and like at some point you gotta move up or diagonally. You gotta move somewhere at some point, right? So I've been thinking about that the last couple of months, and in different directions I can go.
Yeah, always be exploring your options, right? So I guess after YouTube, you were, like I had mentioned, I went to go buy a printer at Best Buy.
Yeah.
So back to that. So I went to go. Yeah, you were there.
Yeah, I was gonna say the reason I was there was because I was doing like warehouse jobs all my life, and I was like, I gotta get out of the warehouse. I gotta get like a real job. I want to use my brain. I don't want to use my spindly spaghetti arms. You know? So I was trying to get these non-warehouse jobs, and there's like this kind of like recruiting company, I don't know, a job agency. That's what you call it. Yeah. So they put me in this Best Buy, and HP has like this ink subscription program.
So refills or whatever.
Yeah, so basically I was there, like they plopped me in the printer area. I wasn't like a Best Buy employee. I was like part of this job agency, and I was just trying to get people to sign up to this ink subscription. And that was like all I did for like one summer until you came and plucked me out of there.
Yeah, I just kind of came in and I'm just like, oh, hey, man, it's been a little while.
Yeah.
And I was kind of in a position where I was like, okay, I could really use some help around the store and the shop and whatever, just to kind of alleviate a lot of what, because I was doing everything almost entirely by myself, apart from when Moshi was able to help out. And I was like in a position where I'm like, okay, I need to start delegating certain jobs to other people, right? So I could bring somebody on, and then I just stumbled into you at Best Buy while you were trying to sell me some ink. And I'm like, yeah, I could probably use some ink and maybe a printer or whatever the hell I was even there for. I don't even remember specifically, but I'm like, yeah, I have a position that's open, and I would love to have you on board and expand, like, because we're so the idea of the company was predominantly aimed to be online, and I wanted to kind of build something a little bit different where we had a very strong media presence, whether it was, you know, Instagram, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. It was like a different engagement process, and I knew what you were capable of doing online. Obviously you had a relatively successful YouTube channel, and you were very heavily involved in all that stuff, and you were doing a lot of the setting up the gaming tournaments and all that stuff. You were very involved in that community. So I'm like, I think Steve might be the right, out of everybody that I knew, I think Steve was pretty much the right person for that job. So I invited you on board, took you in, and then we kind of started working together from there. And what I liked about you is that you were such a perfectionist. Like you were so focused, and I was trying to tell you like, okay, dude, like I get the perfectionism, but it's like, just finish the fucking job at this point, right?
But it still comes up to this day. Sometimes I have to just chill out and like just ship it. You know?
It's your eye for detail is like uncanny. Like I've never met so many people that would literally sit there for like 50 to 60 hours to make one video so perfect. But then you come out watching it and you're like, damn, that was actually like really well done.
Yeah. Honestly, that job with you, I think, like, kind of set me on a certain trajectory. Like, I had never done any sort of job other than, you know, like warehouse stuff. So that was like my first taste of doing something like in the social media space. And I was very social media savvy at the time. I was very like tech savvy. And so I was like, this is kind of where I belong. Like I belong in these kind of positions. So it really kind of like working with you was kind of like that light bulb moment where it's like, okay, like I know kind of where I'm supposed to be. I just have to keep going in this direction. And yeah, now I have what I would describe as a dream job. If you want to go into that.
Yeah. Before that, even, I want to kind of show you guys like what the stuff was that we were actually creating, because I pulled up the old videos.
Oh my goodness!
So a lot of people don't know that my channel on YouTube, Exploring with Angelo, used to be our company's YouTube channel, and these were predominantly the videos that were created majority by Steve. Sometimes I would give him the idea and it'd be like, these are the I think we would sit there and we would like have like a little meeting or whatever and be like, okay, well, these are kind of the ideas that I've come up with, and I'd have like 10, and then we would narrow them down, and then Steve would just, you know, start one by one creating all these videos. And they could be like simple things like you know, a product test, for example, or like how to tape a hockey stick, how to put on your hockey equipment. And we kind of started from the basics and slowly kept going further and further and further. And I remember one of these videos, let me pull this up.
Look at that mustache. That guy needs a shave. Dang.
I remember this video.
Oh, damn. Yeah.
So putting it to the test.
So there was a helmet, and I'm like, let's do something really stupid.
Do you remember this?
I remember this. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah.
So this was basically like a random product review. Hopefully the video actually decides to play, but
from high impact hits, and they're also that voiceover.
Yeah.
Clean as well. This helmet also comes in 3 sizes. That hockey player needs a shave.
Maybe it was playoff season or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, towards the end of the video, I'm like, let's make something quirky. So I bought like a ukulele.
Yeah.
And the idea was to take this ukulele and essentially test the helmet with it.
2,
It's like one of those little guitars you win at like a carnival
One
game.
hit me in the eye. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it literally hit me in the eye. For some reason, this is like 240p, but yeah, that was like one thing that we did, and then we did like Jersey.
I remember this
These
clip.
were fun.
I love these.
Yeah.
So this is what I was gonna talk about. Like doing these kind of like music video ads for these really taught me like new skills. Like I would look up like how to do this crazy transition, and then I would spend like all day figuring out how to like do the cool special effects, and like I learned some new tricks I've never used before.
See, at least like the beneficial thing, and this is kind of like what I saw, was that once you knew how to do it, you could implement it in like, you know, the next 150 videos. So I didn't mind having Steve investing the time on himself, spending the entire day trying to learn how to do 1, 2, or 3 things, right? And then eventually once you had the kind of knack for it, then you were like, okay, I got this. And it's like you're able to kind of cherry pick what you wanted to use in the next video and the next video, and you were constantly like learning. And then I was learning things because at that time, that's when I kind of learned how to do YouTube, and I didn't even know how to edit, but Steve knew how to edit, so he was kind of like showing me how to edit. Like, you know, the most important thing is the S button because you're splitting the clips, right? Which is literally the most important thing when it comes to editing, is to split up your clips properly, and then obviously learning how to do other things. There were some other things outside of that I learned way later. Like now I'm a little bit more advanced where, you know, I'll do a little bit of like color correction if it's necessary, and lighting.
Yeah, I hear you talk about that, and I'm like, I haven't even gotten to that level.
Yeah.
Damn.
Color correction is basically just like, so I mean, based on the cameras that you use, it doesn't actually naturally give you every color that's like kind of in the field of view, so to say. I probably can't even explain it properly. I just know how to do it for some reason.
Some things look more yellow or more orange or more blue than they actually are.
So you'll kind of like, you can color correct it to make like, you know, the yellows more prominent, so to say, or maybe make it look more red or green or whatever it might be, right? And I do it a lot when I do drone footage. There's only been one time that I've never done a color correction on drone footage, and it was Lake Louise in Banff, Alberta, because the colors were just, there was so much sun that day, and it was so natural, and the colors were so perfect on a drone of all things. Like on a DJI drone, they are decent cameras, but they're little ones, right? There's not like a billion pixels coming through on those little tiny things. So you do got to do some sort of color corrector.
Right.
Didn't have to do it on that, which was incredible. But eventually I learned how to do all that stuff, and I think I kind of started learning it by like talking to other YouTubers. So I spent a lot of time with Steve Ronan, and he's all about that, you know, the camera finesse, so to say, right? Where it's like he knows like focal points. I learned so many things from him, like where to hold the camera. I would always hold the camera up here, and then later on I learned, he's like, no, you should actually hold it down here. And I'm like, why? He's like, well, you're giving the perspective of a child, so when you're holding it down here, the world looks bigger, right? Yeah, so that's a real thing. And then when you actually look at the way people film, and it's like they actually hold the camera down here, obviously depending on what it is that you're trying to accomplish, right? But for something that you're trying to have a sort of visual appeal to it, that's for him, that's the way you would film. But there was a lot of things that me and you kind of had to learn together because we didn't know what the hell we were doing half the time, right? And then that kind of graduated into what you're doing now, which is...
Yeah, so I do like all the YouTube stuff for this toy company called Spin Master. And if you've never heard of them before, you've probably heard of Paw Patrol or Hatchimals or Bakugan. And so they're the ones that make those toys and those TV shows. And yeah, so back in 2019, I was like looking for a job, and I saw something for like a copywriter at this place, and then I went to their website to see all their job postings, and I saw they needed it was like YouTube channel management and community specialist or something like that. So I was like, all right, I'll apply for this. And then like after a rigorous interview process, I finally got in, and it was crazy because they didn't have a YouTube team. They had people that were putting ads on YouTube, but they didn't have like
Somebody was actually managing.
Yeah, like a dedicated team to upload their content to YouTube. So like when I got there, it was kind of just like, okay, here's your office, have fun. It's like, what am I supposed to do? And they're like, I don't know, you're the YouTube guy, you figure it out. So like, yeah, for the next couple of years, I've just been kind of like developing, you know, the strategy and everything. And last year we finally got this awesome manager above me, and he came from like a different YouTube channel, like very successful. So like he really knows what he's doing, and he's because it's kind of like my first office job experience. Like I'm not the greatest at office politics. I'm not the greatest at you know, communicating with, you know, these people who've been working the office for like 10-20 years type of thing. But this guy, he's 10 years older than me. He knows how to navigate people. He's a good people person. So like he's been really helping us take YouTube to the next level at this place. And yeah, so when I got there, like the Paw Patrol channel was maybe less than 500,000 subscribers, like 200,000, 300,000. And then within a year, I got it to 1 million. And now 3 years later, it's at 7.5 million.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can we
That's
talk about
crazy.
the things that you did? So what they were doing before, which you said was almost nothing, and with the things that you implemented maybe in your first year?
Yeah, so basically, because they didn't have YouTube people, what they would do is like they were just basically uploading like their commercials, and so once I got there, they were like, okay, we have this Paw Patrol show, and like we have these 10-minute episodes, but we have, you know, a certain contract with so and so, and they say we can post like these 2-minute short versions on YouTube. So I was like, okay, you know, I start figuring out where all the content is, you know, kind of start making a schedule to upload like 1 or 2 a week. And then, you know, it starts taking off. So that people start noticing, and they're like, okay, this is doing really well. Like, how can we like build upon it? And then, so that's kind of how like the snowball gets rolling. You just like upload a couple things, and then like certain people in the company start noticing like, hey, this is kind of working. And then, so, you know, I kind of make suggestions like, oh, like maybe you can make this type of content for me, or give me more of this kind of stuff. And over the years, it's just like, at first it was like, okay, we have this, can you upload it? And I'm like, sure. And then it's become, over the years, it's become like, okay, what should we upload? Like they come to me for like the strategy and the recommendations and stuff like that. So it's really kind of evolved from nothing to like this big ecosystem, and now like so many different departments are involved. It's way more than just uploading videos. Like I gotta liaise with different teams like all over the globe. We have different offices, and yeah, so it's just become this crazy job that I could have never imagined.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Glad it evolved into something, and it's funny where we all kind of start off and where we all kind of end up, right? So I remember like one of the very first things that I was doing was, I was just getting into like the haunted stuff, and do you remember when we went to the abandoned church cemetery thing? I had told you the story about that cult type of thing, and I found the video. I still have it, and it's just like, I'm not even gonna play the whole thing because it's probably just really.
I remember that. I was filming that.
Yeah, you were literally filming like this was you in the car, the
this
loud
is
ass
my
car.
bad shaky camera footage.
Oh,
It was because the camera was so shitty. That's the problem.
I know this church.
Yeah. So there was oh my god, that's so funny. But yeah, it was just the real reason why I had Steve come along, obviously to help and film a little bit, but also because I was a little bit scared to go by myself because of the stories of this place, and I had like some very traumatizing things happen. But like starting out from there, this video got 236 views, and like I wonder what today's video is at so far. Like, just to see like what the difference is in reality. This is not a flex, but
No, yeah, you
an observation.
come a long
right?
way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I got the plaque now sitting behind me.
yeah,
but
for sure.
today's video is at 11,000 views already.
Nice.
In the first 7 hours and 49 minutes. So, like, just to show people that, you know, anybody could really make it. And it's like, back then I would have been super excited to get 250 views and gain like 1 to 2 subscribers on one little video.
Right.
And now it's like, you know, the first 8 hours is 11,000 views. And it's like, that's amazing. Like, just to see how far you can actually come, whether it's on YouTube or obviously you've evolved into something a little bit different. Right. So,
yeah. And I think it's important for people to kind of like be humble about that when you're starting out. Like, yeah, like get excited about your first 10 subscribers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, get excited about your 50th view. You know, like those numbers are small, but like when you're just starting out, like that's your new high score, man. Like,
yeah.
so it all starts small, but then eventually, like I was saying, like I put out a video, I expected to get 50K, 70K, you know, and it's like, it all starts somewhere. You don't get to those numbers overnight, you know.
Yeah,
you gotta
exactly.
people don't realize in order to get to a comfortable spot on YouTube, people do it for like 3, 4, 5 years straight, like every single day, every week, and then they get to a spot where they're like, okay, I can kind of relax a little bit now. But it's like after 5 years of busting your ass, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what I had to do. I had to really like work hard, right?
Yeah.
I remember in the early days, so after we had closed the company, because we had mentioned it before that we had run into like sort of like a bureaucratic political type of corporate situation where Bauer, who sucks ass, basically decided to mess with our business and essentially forced us to more or less close our doors. I mean, we had different avenues, but I wasn't feeling it anymore after seeing that side, like the dark side of the way corporations really operate, which is, I think we were all there. All three of us were there that specific day when it kind of went down.
Yeah.
You probably remember the frustration of like 2 weeks of literally screaming and yelling, and there was probably a lot of swearing going on behind the scenes, and we couldn't operate properly because we couldn't order anything, right? So it's like, and having that sort of situation with such a large company like that who pretends to be like, you know, the nice guys behind the scenes, and then really it's like, oh, this is the real way that they go around treating their customers, right? So there was that. So we closed the company, and then at that point it was very challenging. Like, I've had days where I was literally like so frustrated with myself. Like, I didn't know what to do anymore. I didn't know what was next. So I came very, very close to just getting a normal job, going into construction, which was fine. There was nothing wrong with it, you know, making a normal steady income. I had the option. I had literally got the job because I know people who are in that industry. So I had gotten the job. Before that, I was kind of trying to figure out, like, can I do YouTube? I was trying. It wasn't that I wasn't trying. It was just that, you know, it was growing, but very, very slowly, right? And I'm like, wow, I would like to make this like a full-time thing. But what was happening was I was spending way more money than I was making. And I remember the funniest part is that when I was first starting out, is that Steve would actually point this out, and he's like, oh, now you're about to get monetized, are you? You're very excited to make that 50 cents a week or whatever it was, right? And when he said that, he wasn't lying. Like, the very beginning of being monetized on YouTube was pennies. And I remember the funniest part about that is that when I would talk to my friend Brent, who's the SpongeBob popsicle guy on YouTube, he would he would video call me, and we would spend like an hour or 2 hours on video call for some reason, just because we had nothing better to do, right? And we were both very, very small YouTubers. I had like, you know, maybe 1,000, 2,000 subs or whatever it was. He had like just over 1,000. He's like, oh, we would both publish a video like on the same day, and we're both in completely different genres, so we would compare. He's like, oh, how much did you make today on your video? And I'd be like, oh, it just updated. I made 78 cents. How much did you make? And he's like, I made 8 cents on my video, right? And it's like, now our numbers we're actually making a living doing this, and it's just like, comparing and like talking about, like, me and him still laugh at that. Remember those days when we used to call each other and we would talk about how we were making a few quarters or like a dime or whatever on a video? Like, we would literally put, like, you know, work our asses off to make an entire video, and we were making nothing, neither of us, because we were basically nobodies. We had a very small following and we really were not getting that much AdSense revenue. Now times have kind of changed, right? But yeah, it's just kind of like interesting looking back on all that stuff and remembering kind of where you come from. And I remember I would do these crazy like 3-4 day long road trips, and a lot of it was with a friend of mine named James. Some of you guys, if you guys have been watching my videos long enough, you'll remember him. He was always the guy who would get loaded on PBRs, and then we would go and explore abandoned places. There was weekends where we would literally not sleep, right? Or when we did sleep, it was just like, oh, we're so broke that we would have to, like, you know, budget ourselves. You couldn't find a motel that was more than like $80 a night or something like that, which is very hard to do. So a lot of times we were just kind of finding random spots on the side of the road and setting up a tent on the side of the street in a bush somewhere. And that's like the things that we were doing. And a lot of people don't understand that. Like, we did that for years. Yeah. And then finally something changed. And what had happened was I had ended up becoming friends with Mosarji, and I had met him at the same cemetery that we went to. And after that, we just kind of slowly kept talking. We ended up going on a road trip and we became friends. And then we had been kind of, you know, making videos together, became friends for a long time. And I think both of us kind of need to use the washroom at this point. So we're going to just pause for a second and come right back. And we are back. Took a little bit of a pee break, smoke break, and now I have espresso. This table is just slowly filling up with random drinks,
beverages.
It's amazing, but this is what we like to do, just kind of chilling and having a conversation. And even before we came back on, we were talking about the good old days of when we actually did have the company, and like a lot of the things that we had to go through. We'll get back into the conversation about, you know, what I was doing on YouTube, because I know a lot of the fans are probably kind of wanting to know those details of like what I actually had to do a lot of the times to get to where I am right now. Again, not a flex, but it was quite the struggle. There was days where I was, you know, ready to give up. And I'll probably do another episode, maybe even just dedicated to talking about that. But the good old days. So essentially, before I hired you, I was basically just doing everything on my own. And what had happened was I had started out with mainly the jersey business, and I had connected with 3 other guys. And I knew I needed a space. I wanted an actual walk-in space that I could use for retail purposes, so I could deal with customers coming in and out on a daily basis. Before that, I was doing everything from home, so everything was set up in the basement. I would literally have customers coming into my house, and then my mom was kind of like, it was happening so often that my mom was kind of like, you know, okay, we can't have all these people coming in and out of the house 24/7, you know, just for safety reasons. We don't know who these people are. And I'm like, I get it. I totally understand. Like, these were literally people that we'd advertise online. They would just randomly call me and be like, oh, I want to come pick this up. Yeah. And then I started developing a kind of a client base where it was consistently the same customers ordering 4 or 5 things at a time, which was fantastic. Then we started doing like sort of a delivery service around the GTA. And I remember there was one summer, actually, Steve.
That's how I met Steve.
Right. Yeah. So I forgot about that.
On the little red moped.
On your dad's moped, right? So you had Steve, who was kind of working on a part-time basis just during the summer, just to try to earn a couple extra bucks. And basically, because I would have so many customers that would order. It was during like the Euro Cup, I think, is when that whole thing started. And it became so popular that Steve was literally riding around all over the place. Just,
I went to like Vaughan and Woodbridge.
Wasn't it insane? So imagine before that, what I was doing is I was doing that, plus running the company, plus running the website, shipping, packaging. I was doing majority of that. I mean, obviously I had Moshi helping me as well. But we were more or less doing all of that on our own, right? Before Steve finally came and did that for a little while, and then obviously he disappeared into the abyss and started selling ink and toner at Best Buy part-time. Then eventually I ended up with the shop. I had signed the lease. It was with 4 other guys. split the bills. And it was like this industrial unit. Like the front area was smaller than this room. It was, I think, 350 square feet, something like that. And the back area was like a garage.
Like it was like a car garage.
Right.
Yeah.
So the other three guys, two of them were essentially just parking vehicles. One had a Lexus IS 350 with a 2JZ in it. The other one had an RX-7, an old 86 or something like that, FC, if any of you guys know cars or care about things like that. And then we had our friend Shad, who also started his own company where he was fabricating car parts, and he was doing kind of like a secret car service, because he wasn't technically supposed to be doing it out of there, because he wasn't actually, he was supposed to be doing it.
He was doing like kind of like small time mechanic work back there. Yeah,
he would do like people's. I remember he did a couple things for me too on my vehicles, just to whatever. I'd give him some money and everybody was happy, right? But yeah, it was dirty, because we had, at one point, I remember after you came on board, remember we had all the computer stuff was all set in the front.
Yeah.
But then we were like, okay, this is not working out because we need the extra space. So we moved everything to the back. And so you had to just visualize that it was me and Steve, and we had like this L-shaped table at the back, and then directly behind us was a parked car.
Yeah.
Right. So it was very like small confined space, but it worked. We made it. We made it work. Right. For a long period of time,
because it was like a car garage, like an auto parts thing. It was like dusty and dirty.
I think some of us used to smoke inside, which we probably shouldn't have done, but we did anyways, because we just didn't care. But yeah, then like the front area was basically like the showroom retail space where customers would come in and out during the day, and people would just like randomly show up too. And that was the cool thing. Like we were starting to kind of develop this thing where people actually knew who we were now. And then at some point I remember we had moved forward enough in a position where I was like, so Moshi was always part of the business, and I'm just like, one day we'll have you come on full time. And then the opportunity arose, and we decided like, oh, let's go and get a new spot somewhere. So we had found a nice spot in a brand new area, and we had started setting up there, and then we had a blast though. Like it was so much fun. I remember we would listen to the stupidest music that we could possibly find on the internet, and we would just
that's how you guys told me you were ready for me to come. You guys, the two of you, were working at the desk listening to this loud music. You sent me a video and we're like, "You're ready for you, bro. Come, we need you.
Yeah, jamming to Rebecca Black
Friday.
There was that other song, that Sydney McGee, that I'm so lit right now.
Oh my God.
I forgot about that.
So
that was my jam.
Right, dude, at least once a day. And then what else was popular back there? We would play Joey. I just died in your arms. It was
God, yes, Joey. Right? Yes, the old Euro beat guy.
Yeah, from like the 80s, 90s, and then he destroyed his entire career by doing too many lines of coke.
We listened to a lot of that song Rockstar by Post Malone and 21 Savage had just came out around that time, so I would listen to that song.
There was
like
so many different.
nonstop.
That's what we were doing half the time, and I'm pretty sure like customers would come in the door and we'd be listening to like the stupidest music you could possibly think of, and they're just like, what is going on in here? But
I'm just over there like, I'm so lit right now.
And this customer's just coming in like, I'm just looking for a good deal and a hockey stick, bro. That's all I'm here for. But yeah, we had a lot of good times. I mean, we worked hard. Like there was a lot of things that needed to be taken care of in that place. But yeah, then finally we moved on to the newer location. Spent
in between that, we were working from your basement.
Right, I forgot about that. So we were at my house working in the basement. Like all three of us, we had like boxes upon boxes of merchandise that we had to transport. I tried to get rid of as much as we possibly could in between moves, but obviously you can only sell so much sometimes, so fast. And we were in my basement, and we were literally just surrounded by boxes, and we had like all these makeshift spaces that we could package things. We had all the like 4 computers set up. One was mine, one was for Moshi, and one was for Steve. And we were all doing like different jobs, and then we would kind of like, you know, okay, time to start shipping Amazon orders, or time to start shipping website or eBay orders or whatever it was. And then on top of that, we were also consistently developing our website, and we were just like, that was the worst part. That was like something I'd never want to have to go back to in my life.
Designing a website is not easy.
No, it's like a lot of people don't understand how search engine optimization works.
Yeah.
If you want to get ranked, you got to rewrite everything in your own language.
Yeah.
And, otherwise, Google's not going to recognize you. And
I remember that, going through like each product
Right.
page and redoing it so that the SEO would pick it up.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
I was doing that for Speedo on our website.
Yes. Yeah.
I
Well,
was staring at pictures of guys in Speedos.
okay. Nice. So
Good
I had
times.
recognized opportunities in Canada that were not really done before, and I had contacted the companies for swimming, which were like the main ones were TYR, Speedo, and a couple other random ones. And I'm like, yo, we have people who do swim here. Like if you go to there's schools in Brampton that literally have swim teams, so they
Yeah.
need supplies, and there's only so many stores that offer the supplies. Now being on the border of Brampton and Vaughan, I saw an opportunity. I'm like, yo, let's like try to expand into different product lines that, you know, can help the local people. And that's what we were trying to do. So like you said, we were constantly updating the website, adding products every single day, rewriting things, reorganizing. It was a lot of work for 3 people. We were running, it was crazy too, because a lot of the customers that were coming through that would call, they thought we were like this mega corporation,
yeah.
right?
It's
Like
just
this
3 dudes.
multi-billion-dollar corporation that we had, like, because it looked so clean and it was so operational online. And then they would walk in the store and we're like, yeah, this is us.
Yeah,
There's
that's
literally
it.
3 of us, right?
Yeah.
So and we're all just kind of sitting in this back corner. I remember we had the L-shaped desk again, so it was me on one side, Steve over here, and then I had to put a table, and then Moshi was opposed to, was it me or Steve? I don't even remember anymore.
I was
but-
beside Steve and
Right,
opposite you.
right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because I had like the main L-shaped area because I needed all the extra space for like random papers and phone calls and whatever the hell I had to do. Right. It was hectic though. Like it was a lot to deal with on a daily basis. But we had a shit ton of fun though, just constantly blasting random music and the
Going
fun.
to Pizza Nova almost every other day. Oh, no. Gino's Pizza.
Yeah.
which was terrible. The pizza
Oh,
was
yeah.
Oh, so bad.
atrocious. Yeah, it was awful. It was either Gino's, which was right next door, or it was Tim
Timmy's,
Hortons
yeah.
across the parking lot.
Yeah.
The one
But-
thing that I remember that Steve used to do all the time, this was really funny because he didn't like wasting time having to go back and forth to Tim's. Even though I would let him go, I'm like, dude, you can take an hour lunch. I don't care. But he's like, no, I cannot waste time because shit's got to get done. And that's one thing I really liked about Steve is that he was like a go-getter, right?
Yeah, when it's just when it's just us 3,
Right?
you realize like, oh, if something needs to get done,
Exactly.
I have to do it. And it's like until I do it, it doesn't get done.
Exactly.
So like you try to get as much as you can done, right?
Yeah, because we were trying to like set dates on certain things, like when a certain video would go up, and we were trying to do something different that
Yeah.
would separate us.
I think
from
I know what
everybody
you're
else.
gonna say about how I would
The
come with
Tims.
2 extra large
Yes.
coffees.
Yeah.
So he would walk in every morning with 2 massive extra large coffees.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, what are you gonna do with this? Like, are you gonna drink them both in an hour? He's like, nope. I'm gonna microwave the
Yeah,
second one. I'm
yeah.
like, dude, that's disgusting. He's like, I don't care. You do what
Yeah.
you gotta do sometimes, right? Because we didn't really have like the space in there for like a percolator or
Right.
Keurig was not, I mean, it was kind of a thing, but not really a thing at the time. And,
Yeah. So big coffee drinkers, usually they'll make like a pot and they'll just drink the pot throughout the day. And like
Which makes
that's
sense.
totally normal.
Yeah.
It's like 3-4 cups of coffee, but like you just reheat it or whatever. So
Yeah.
like I didn't want to go back and forth. So
Yeah,
I just
exactly.
get 2 massive coffees and just like reheat the second one once the time came, you know.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember those days. And then I remember you were still playing Pokemon Go. I think you were one of like the last people that were still kind of playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah. So I had a weird relationship with games for a few years where I was very completionist, and especially if I was getting into a game as it was starting, like there was you have the opportunity to collect everything, because like if you're playing the game from the very beginning, you get all the limited time items. Like you don't have any events that you miss because you've been there from the beginning. So like I was in a period where I had this very completionist mentality about all the games I was playing. So like Pokemon Go, since I was there from launch day, I was like, okay, like I have to, grind super hard to get every possible thing, and like eventually, like you just stop caring.
Yeah.
But
it was good exercise, though.
Oh, for sure,
Like,
sure. Especially when you were
walking.
spoofing, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yes. So once we were at the shop, spoofing became popular, which was where you get like a fake GPS app to kind of mimic your
too?
location.
Choking?
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
And so like you could be playing Pokemon Go in like Paris, France, when really you're just sitting in Brampton, Ontario. But like you needed to do that because there was Pokemon that you could only catch in certain continents. Like
Right.
each area of the world had their region specific. So it's like if I want to be a completionist, I want to get them all, I have to travel to these other places. But like I can't just go on a vacation to Australia to catch a Kangaskhan. Like that's not like a justifiable use of my money.
or time. I mean, it's a 20-hour flight over there, right? I remember after I think you showed me how to start doing this spoofing thing. So I started trying to do it, and I think I screwed up because I was like kind of jumping from country to country really fast.
Yeah, it was so finicky.
And I remember, I think I went to like Trinidad, and then from Trinidad went to like Dominican Republic, and then to like somewhere else really quick, and then I think I got like
get a shadow ban.
Yeah, you would get
whatever.
soft banned, and like nothing would show up for 30
Yeah,
minutes
and
or
I'm
an
like,
hour.
and I messaged Steve. I'm like, yo, I think I screwed up. What's happening here? He's like, oh, don't worry. Just go to a Pokestop somewhere. And I think you said spin like 90 times or something like that. If you just keep spinning. And I think I spoofed to it, and then I just kept doing it, and it started working again.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah, I knew all the craziest tricks.
Right? Like you'd been playing so much.
I remembered like I met some people at Square One in Mississauga, this mall, because like there was all these Pokestops around the mall, so you could basically just like do a 5-minute walk, get all the Pokestops, and every 5 minutes they would refresh. You could go to the same one. So if you do this like 5-minute lap over and over and over again, you just get all the Pokestops. And like I met people there, and it was like the first or second week, and I had realized I was using like lucky eggs or something. It would like double the hatch speed of your eggs and like give you like extra stuff when you went to Pokestops. And I realized I had been using those wrong because it would like double up your XP and everything too. So I was like really big on min-maxing in games, where it's like you get you try to maximize every little ounce of value you can possibly get out of like the items and the free stuff they give you. So I realized I had completely screwed up. So I was like, I'm going to reset my account. And the guys I was playing with was like, we've been playing for like 2 weeks. It takes so much experience to like grind to this point. Like, how are you going to reset your account? I'm like, I'm going to reset my account. And within the next week, I had already caught up and like surpassed where I was before, because I was doing everything like the most efficient possible way that I wasn't. And I had realized how to do this. I was like, it'll be worth it. And like, it totally was. I totally nerded out way beyond any necessary means for that game. Like, way too deep.
No regrets. I think we did the same thing. We ended up going to Halifax at one point to hang out with our friend, and I think the entire time we were being tourists, we were also playing Pokemon Go because it was so new.
Yeah.
It came out like what 2 weeks before he left or something like that.
Yeah, so it came out in June, beginning of June 2016, and we were there I think in July.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so much fun.
We
though.
went out there and we caught like 300 CP Dragonites.
Ooh.
Oh, it was amazing, bro. No, mine
Mine was 300. Yours was like
60 something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was horrible. But yeah, at least I caught it.
Yeah,
and
hell
I
yeah.
unlocked it on the Pokedex or whatever, and I'm just like, okay, this is shitty, I guess.
I just posted a picture of that on my Instagram the other day, just like the beginning of Pokemon Go, how there was world peace at that time.
Yeah.
There
You know?
was. It was
You know?
amazing.
Every now and then I like going back to my old photos of like when Pokemon Go first started and just like, oh man.
Everybody was nice at that
Yes,
time.
it
Okay,
was like-
True.
everybody was walking the street, the parks. Like it was just a different time for that month. That like
Yeah.
the world went crazy. Yeah, it was really,
Like I
really
just
good.
made random friends with people at Square One that
Yeah.
like I was like best friends with for a couple months. And it's
Yeah.
like just random people. And it's like, are you playing Pokemon Go? Yeah. And like you're
Yeah.
just
Everybody,
you're just
though.
friends all the
Everybody,
time, you
like,
know?
dude, even like old people, like
Yeah,
boomers,
exactly.
were like
Yes.
walking because they walk anyways.
Yeah.
So now it's like they had a reason to do it, and even I recall like years later, like we're talking like after COVID or whatever. I wanted something to do as I was kind of just walking along. So I would go to Professor's Lake in Brampton, and my normal routine was to do the entire, lake, the whole trail plus the sidewalk to reconnect back to the trail. And I'm like, I need something to do as I'm walking along. And I would start playing Pokemon Go again. This was like many, many years later. I'd stopped playing. I wasn't making any progress because I didn't play anymore. And then I'm just like getting really into it again. And then after a while, I'm just like, okay, this is like slowing me down. Like I had to stop playing Pokemon Go because you would literally get caught up trying to catch every little thing that was there, right? And then you're detouring to get to the Pokestop, and then you're going back on. You're just like, your 1 hour walk is now turning into 2 hours, including stopping, and then you stop and you're like, oh, I have to go back, I forgot I needed the Pidgey or whatever, right? And I was just like, okay, enough's enough. And it's just, I think it kind of died out a little bit. I don't know, does anybody else still play? Do you guys know anybody who still plays?
No, but like what you're describing, that like urge to maximize like all your value when you're
That's
playing.
what you're talking about,
That's what I'm
right?
talking about.
Yeah.
And it's like over the last couple of years I've started to chill out a bit.
Yeah.
Like have you guys played Marvel Snap? It came out about a year ago.
No, I saw it and no.
So like it's one of those games, like every game you get these these daily challenges, and like every 6 hours or whatever you get like 2 more, but like you can only have 6 at a time. So like you got to do your challenges before you get 6 so that you have room to get more. So it's like the free to play grind is always making sure you have room to get more. But it's like the last couple of weeks I'm just like, I don't care anymore. Like you can only
accomplish so many things, right?
Yeah, and it's like at the end of the day, what is it getting me? Like nothing. And like I think I used to justify dedicating so many hours to these games because I was like, okay, if eventually if I make content on it, I'll have this very robust account and I'll be able to make content on anything because I have everything. And like eventually I realized I'm never going to make content on this. What am I kidding myself for?
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of part of being like a YouTuber. I find when you actually are doing YouTube, there comes a time when you start trying to make everything into content.
Yes, you're like, how can I monetize every part of my life?
Right, right. And there's like, for me, I've never really been like that, but I mean, I guess I tried to experiment here and there, but over time I kind of realized that there are certain things about my life that I'd rather just keep private. Like there's no reason to first of all, nobody's going to be interested in that. Second of all, it's literally just trying to make almost kind of like a cash grab kind of thing where it's like you're trying to squeeze every minute or two out of content just to try and make the video longer or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I didn't really see the point in it because it wasn't that exciting. But there are certain aspects that it's like I realized that sometimes the content is not super exciting. Like you're just watching us, like for example, our last trip, we went to Vancouver and Alberta and all those things, and it's like people are not super interested in every little detail about like a little bit of a trip. But for me, it was like, it was personally enjoyable to share like us having a good time, right? Because it's very rare nowadays that I'll actually take a vacation, because I'm consistently just always constantly working. I'm always working on something. So to actually have just like a moment where it's like I could just be stupid and just walk through a park and have a good time, and start, you know, teaching people about plants in the middle of a park, which was just a part of a vlog that I did recently. But like stuff like that, like it's not super exciting, and not every one of my fans is going to be excited to watch something like that, but there are a certain amount of people that will. And for me, it was just like fun enough that I wanted to share that little experience with people. But at the same time, it's like, nobody needs to watch me sleep. Nobody needs to watch me eat my dinner at the end of the day. I don't need to share every single aspect of my life. There are certain things that need to remain private, right?
Yeah.
So
it's like when Twitter first became a thing, people were like, oh, tweeting about like brushing my teeth or going to the washroom. It's like, you don't need to tell the world everything.
Yeah.
You know? You don't need to broadcast your entire life.
I think what happened there was that because Twitter was kind of, it was so new and experimental.
Yeah.
I don't even think Twitter knew or understood what their purpose was, that they were kind of like, oh, share what you're doing. Because that was like a thing on Facebook, like your Facebook status, right? And everybody was sharing, you know, the moment they went pee or poo, right? And it was like, that was the thing to do, because these companies didn't really like, they knew they had a purpose, but they just didn't know what those purposes were.
The early years of social media was something else. Eh?
Oh, 100%. So different.
Pictures of your dinner, pictures of your breakfast, pictures of your dog.
Yeah. Food porn, right?
Oh,
Just,
food porn.
you would just share like a picture of your craft dinner or whatever, your Mac Daddy.
Hell yeah.
That you used to make.
I've always thought it'd be interesting to kind of make a video going through like the different
evolution.
the different
social media
periods that the internet has gone through over the last like 20 years. Like we had
MySpace.
we had like memes before the word meme became a thing. Like remember lolcats?
Not really.
I remember the
no.
word.
Like
what is that?
It's like a picture with a cat doing something stupid, and it would have like top text and bottom text. It would just be some dumb caption of like a cat doing something, and it's like
the original meme.
And it was this website like I Can Has Cheeseburger, and you would just like sign up to this website and get like these daily cat pictures, and it was like memes before memes were a thing, you know?
It's awesome.
Yeah, what I remember is like something called Friends Pages, and it was
Friend
just
pages,
like,
yes, you can
and it
make
was
your own
like,
website.
Yeah, and it was so silly, and it was just like, it was fun to kind of just like experiment, because you were it was almost like the pretext to learning how to code a website.
Yeah,
right, because you
kind
were
of.
kind of learning how like everything operates, how to like where everything's positioned.
Well, like your
and
cooler, more savvy friends would have all these cool like HTML things, and then you'd be like, "How you do that?" And then you just copy their code and like, change the words. Yeah.
And that was like a really cool way to kind of really start learning how the internet operates. And then obviously you had things like MySpace that came out, and then MySpace was so much fun, like because it was just so raw, and just a lot of it was based on music. You know, that was like the early stages, and then I think Facebook was just after that. There was MSN chat, MSN Messenger, there was Yahoo Messenger, somewhere in between there, and then those eventually disappeared. MSN Messenger and Yahoo Chat. None of my friends, for the most part, for some reason used it. I only used it because I had some family members that used it.
I don't think I even knew that was a thing.
No?
No.
Yahoo Chat?
I remember, didn't AOL have a messenger too?
They did, yeah.
Yeah,
so
like,
I think AOL was probably first.
I remember hearing about like American kids, they would use like ICQ and AOL.
Right,
We would just use
right.
MSN.
Yeah. So for me, I had learned how to use Yahoo. Main reason was because you could go into, this was really dangerous.
The chat rooms.
Right.
Yes.
As a 12, 13-year-old
I was going to
kid.
say, when we were a teenager, the internet was like the Wild West.
I was about to say that. It was literally the Wild West. Like you could literally go into, so I remember, okay, this is kind of like a little bit of an explicit story, but this is just to give you an idea of exactly what Steve is talking about. So I remember I would go into these Yahoo chats, and there was like areas that were like dedicated to people of certain ages, certain interests, you know, people who were interested in dating or whatever it might be. Like there was all these different like categories. And I do remember MSN had something, but MSN got rid of their random chat area well before Yahoo did. Yahoo was like one of the very last ones to have the random chat room. And then there was things like chat roulette, which was just a whole other scenario. But when I was young, I remember this, and I don't think I've ever shared this online. It's kind of a crazy story, but I do remember when webcams first became a big thing, right? And people would just go on webcams and whatever, and it's like you could open your webcam and anyone in the actual chat room could just click on it and open it. So what I remember is being in this random chat room, and I was chatting with a person, whatever, and I don't even remember what the hell we were talking about, but the most common thing that people would say was, hello, ASL.
I was just going to say that.
Age, sex, location.
Yes.
So you'd be like, oh, and I was just like, you know, I didn't care. I was like, 13, male, Canada.
Yep.
Right? Because, you know, saying Brampton, people would, from the US or anywhere around the world, would never know what it's Etobicoke. It's Etobicoke, right? Yeah, so I was chatting with some person. They're like, oh, let's go on webcam. Open yours up. So I'd open mine. It was just literally me, like as if, you know, I'm sitting here right now.
Yeah,
much
innocent kid trying to play Habbo Hotel, you know?
Oh my God, Habbo Hotel.
What was that? Play what?
It's a game. It was one of the early online games.
Imagine a Yahoo chat room, but you get to have an avatar and walk around.
Oh, okay. That actually sounds kind of fun, though. But yeah, so I remember opening up my webcam, and then I opened up theirs. What I saw on that webcam was somebody doing things with themselves,
bullying themselves,
bullying themselves on camera. So I remember, I'm like, oh, what the hell? So I'm trying to close the webcam. I click the X that should have closed it. Instead, what does it do? It maximizes the screen. I'm like, what's happening? No. And I'm like trying to hit the escape. Nothing's working. I don't know if it was just a computer malfunction or somehow they had managed
got a virus or something.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what was going on. And I'm like freaking out. I'm like, what if somebody comes downstairs? They're going to see me looking at me watching this person hurt themselves or doing whatever they're doing on camera.
I don't even want to be in this chat room.
I don't. Yeah, I'm just like, okay, unplug. Like, I'm pretty sure I just like stopped. I turned off the computer and I left the house. I'm like, okay, it's time to go back to the good old outdoors, right?
Enough of grass, you know.
Enough of this Yahoo chat business. But like, that's the thing that people were doing back then.
The internet was crazy.
It was, yeah, it was. There was some serious like savagery going on. It was just so messed up. And then there was Neopets. Neopets was fun. I loved Neopets. The website still exists. Like you can literally still play Neopet, but who the hell has? Their servers have slowed down because I'm pretty sure they've like downgraded at this point because
nobody has their original accounts anymore.
It's probably, isn't it just a Flash or HTML game? Like it's probably crawling at this point.
Exactly. Like there's you click it, it probably takes like 30 days to get to the next page, right?
Doesn't like Java and Flash like not exist anymore?
It still exists. It's just it's not. There's no like back end to it. Like there's no real support to it or something.
Yeah,
like
it ceased support like a year or two ago. I remember that.
Maybe even longer. I don't even know. But yeah, those were the good old days, man.
The good old days.
Oh man,
the old games you would play in the browsers. I remember we would play like these drag racing games in browsers. Yeah, like
miniclip.com and addictinggames.com.
Yeah,
so good. But we remember Stick Death.
The Stick Death. Yeah, I was just about to say Stick Death. Stick Death was just like something.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there was what was it? E-Bombs World.
E-Bombs World.
Yeah.
And Newgrounds.
Newgrounds. Yes. Okay. Wow. I remember that one now. Yeah, those were some dangerous.
Not safe
websites.
For work.
Yeah.
Not safe for work. Yeah.
Is that what that is? NSFW or whatever. Okay. Yeah. I never knew. I just thought that meant like, oh, there's porn ahead, which usually is what that means. Right? So.
Yeah. Don't open at the office.
Yeah. Or school. But yeah. So apart from that, I think. So now you're living in Toronto. So what is it like living in the biggest Canadian city, which would be like the smallest American city in perspective?
Yeah.
What's it like living in Toronto? How do you liking it?
I mean, it's great. I live like a 30-minute walk from the office. So you know, I don't have a car. Anything I need is within walking distance or subway or streetcar. It does make like visiting relatives and people complicated. Like to come see you guys today, I had to take an Uber for like an hour. Wow. So like I'm kind of far away from everybody, but it's cool being in, you know, the heart of downtown, because like before, if I wanted to go to a concert or an event or something, I would have to leave like 2-3 hours in advance. Now I'm like 20 minutes away, you know, like I'm right there. And it's super loud. You know,
all the time, right?
I'm in like an 11th floor apartment, and sound kind of carries upwards. So you just kind of gotta get used to it. Like there's constant sirens, constant traffic. I often play Magic with a couple of people in a Discord. We play via webcam. So like lately, because it's so hot outside, I gotta open up all the windows, and like I have to mute my mic like every other minute because there's just like a fire truck going by or a cop car going by, and it's so loud all the time. But like, I mean, I used to sleep through rock concerts, so you get used to it, right? But I love living downtown. I love it.
The convenience of it is something else.
Yeah, and it's cool just being like in the city. Like Brampton is a city, but like, and like downtown Brampton is a thing, but like downtown Toronto, it just hits different, you know?
There's
like,
no real culture downtown Brampton. It's never really existed much. There's been like a few developments, like, you know, we got the Rose Theater in the square, but that's really about it, right? There's Gage Park. I mean, what do you do there during the summer? You go and walk around a circle. During the winter, what do you do there? You skate around in a circle. So it's always just circle related at the end of the day. There's not really much going on. There's not like, you know, a spectacular amount of restaurants. There's a couple here and there. Some have popped up, some have disappeared. My favorite is Vesuvio's, but even that's kind of like, it doesn't hit the same as it used to, because the businesses downtown Brampton are just, they've been suffering, especially through COVID. They had such a hard time that they had to like minimize their menu. They've never really kind of gotten back to, you know, what it was before that whole thing. And yeah, Toronto is like, I don't know, I kind of partially grew up in Toronto, so I know what the feel is. I mean, we weren't like right downtown, like you're much closer than where we were. But we were kind of like more so on the outskirts, but close enough that, you know, within a 10-minute drive, you were at the CN Tower. So I remember it. I don't really like, I don't know, I'm just not, as I've gotten older, I don't really appreciate the city as much as I used to anymore. It's just like, it's too busy, can't be bothered to deal with traffic. And it's just, I prefer, I don't know, it's just like the old man in me at this point, where it's just like, I prefer the peace and quiet. I'd much rather go and stick myself in the middle of the woods somewhere, where I don't have all this annoying sound everywhere.
I'm kind of the same way. Like I can't stand other people. Like I'm one of those people who it's just like, when I'm in public, it's like, God damn, everyone around me is just an idiot. Why is everyone such an idiot? And it's just like, I'll be walking down the street and there'll be like people walking like 4 wide when like the sidewalk is only enough for like people to get by, like like a 1-lane type of sidewalk. And it's like, why are you walking 4 wide? You've seen me coming for 50 feet and you still haven't gotten behind each other. It's just stuff like that. It's like, I hate people. But like, I just you know, like I like the feeling of like things going on around me. And like I walk home from work and there's a field I walk by. There's always people like throwing the ball around or running around with their dogs. It's just like, there's always something happening, and it feels alive. You know. Whereas like when you're in your kind of suburban, you know, Brampton home that I grew up in, it's like, in order to get to an event or go somewhere where something's happening, you have to travel. And you can't just walk down the street and see something cool. Whereas like in Toronto, you know, you go in any direction and you can find something going on, you know?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not really much of a fan of the suburbs. I've just been kind of forced to be there at this point. I think we all kind of were, because we all kind of grew up there. None of us really grew up in like, you know, the farm or the countryside or anything like that. But as I've gotten older, I've just developed an appreciation. Obviously, I like experiencing certain cities, but within, you know, limits. There's got to be limitations to that too. I would never be able to like handle living downtown and experiencing like what you said with like
of people,
with the stupidity of people. And I realized this recently too, when we were in Vancouver. When we did the Capilano Bridge, which I have this really cool espresso cup of. What it is like this suspension bridge. You guys probably saw it on the
cool
vlog channel. And I don't like heights, but I was willing to do it anyways, just because I wanted to experience it. And I'm trying to gradually get over my fear of heights, no matter how terrible it is. The problem that I was realizing is, like you said, is how stupid people are, because you're trying to cross this scary ass suspension bridge that's literally going like this as you're stepping on it. So it's swinging like at because there's like probably 40 people crossing at any given point going in both directions in 2 lanes. Then all of a sudden you have 2 people who are stopped dead in the middle of this bloody bridge, and they're all taking selfies and pictures with each other. And I'm like, you have to be kidding me right now.
Yeah, do
like,
you not realize there's a constant flow of traffic?
Like there are people, first of all, there are like, you're being very inconsiderate, because there are people like myself who are like literally testing their limits. And I'm cool. As long as I keep moving, I'm okay. Right? But you forced me to stop. Now I ain't okay anymore.
Yeah, now I'm panicking.
Now I'm looking around. This whole
Yeah.
thing is swinging. You got kids running in opposite direction. You got the people on the speakers going, you know.
Now you got time to think about how scared you are.
Exactly. And about, oh, if I, what in me will break when I hit the bottom of that ground down there, right? And you're just thinking of all these crazy scenarios and things.
How far will my knees go through my torso?
Right. You're just like, weird things go through your head when you're doing stuff like this. And the funniest part was Mike. We've had him on the show multiple times, and he was going to do it. So we bought these tickets, and they were like $70 a piece. It's not cheap
to cross the bridge.
To cross a bridge is $70 a piece. Honestly, like in a way, it is kind of worth it, just because of the amount of things you have included. If you have the time to do everything, you can make it worth your time and the money that you've just spent. So the problem is that Mike, like myself, is bad with heights, probably under certain aspects worse than myself. So I was trying to actually do a live stream, which failed miserably, because the second I took a step onto the bridge, I guess because I was entering a valley, the stream just the reception just went kaput. So the stream was a no-go. I had to cancel, and I ended up doing 1 hours later in Whistler, BC instead. And so we stepped onto this bridge, and Mike was ahead of me, and he starts going, oh my god, I can't do this. I'm like, you're okay, dude. You're good, bro. You're good. Just keep going. His wife's ahead of him, and I think our friend Anthony was ahead of her. And he gets a little bit further. He's like testing himself, and I could see him holding on. He's like shaking at this point. He's like, nope. I'm not doing it. And he literally spins around really quick and just runs off the bridge. I'm like, oh. I'm like, well, I guess you're waiting for us to come back, right?
It is super scary though.
It is, yeah.
I haven't been on that bridge, but just like anything heights wise,
mm-hmm.
You know how I got over it?
How
I got over my fear of heights? Skydiving.
Oh yeah, I remember you did that. I don't know how you were managed. How was that?
For the first half, it's scary as hell. The second half, free. Just like
from like an actual plane.
Yeah. Like literally skydiving. They take you up, and you're strapped to the back of a guy who knows what they're doing. Who knows how to pull the cord. Yeah. I
would like to do that, but I don't think I could handle it. I think it would be so much anxiety to me that it would literally age me 20 years in that 5 minutes. Like that's the thing though. It's like, it's just the anxiety behind it. Right. Yeah. And it's like, I'm slowly getting better. I've done like some serious like heights and climbs. I remember there was one time we were in New Mexico. We were in Albuquerque, and there's a mountain there. It is called, I don't even remember anymore, but it's 12,500 feet in the air. We're at the top of this mountain, and I'm with my friend Yasko, and I'm holding his camera, helping him film his intro for his video. So his idea was, oh, I'm just going to run towards the edge and then stop and then turn around, and that's the way my video starts. So he runs towards the edge, but he skips. He like skids through the dirt towards the edge. And my heart literally, like, I felt my heart actually like, and then just stop, right? I'm like, no, this motherfucker is going to like die on camera, right? And he literally skips and he's like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm like, go screw yourself, Chess. Like, why'd you have to do that in the first place? Like, oh my God, that was terrifying, dude. Being that high up, and like my blood was already like pumping, my brain's already thinking of like how the knees going through my chest sort of thing, right? I'm just like, no, I can't do this. This is too much. But yeah, the Capilano Bridge. So the other part that kind of really pissed me off about how stupid people are in public. There's like a cliff walk thing. This is completely separate from the bridge, but you have to cross the bridge. Or no, actually, no, you can go back and then do it. Or I don't even remember anymore. But basically, it's this single person pathway that they built that's just bolted onto the side of the cliff. And it's pretty traumatizing. And it was the same we had the same scenario. It was me and my friend Anthony, and it was the same scenario. We're walking along and these people just stop. And the worst part is that it was literally just a one person thing, right? So we're waiting and waiting, and we're like, dude, like, what are you guys doing? Like, they wouldn't let us pass them, right? And they're like, oh, you want to be in our picture? And Anthony's like, fuck no. Like, why are you just stopping here? Yeah, just get out of my way. Like, I'm already traumatized at this point. I just need to keep moving. I'm trying to enjoy the view, but I'm also trying not to shit my pants at the same time, right? And I just need you to get out of my way, right? Like, stop being an asshole. Get to a platform where you can move out of the way, let everyone pass, and then go back and do your photos, right? And it's just like same thing. Like, I hate people like that. But oh my God. And I find a lot of people like zombie people, like they move without purpose. Yeah. Right. They're just, I move very quick. Same. Because I need to just get to my destination, do what I need to do, and then get the hell out of there. Right. And then it's like when you're walking through Walmart and you have like the people who are like blocking the whole aisle and they're just slowly moving and they're just like not looking at anybody else and they're just like observing and they're just completely like zombified. Right. Like they've turned into complete zombies. Yeah. And it's not to be mean to people, but that's just like, for me, it's just like, I'm always like, kind of on the move, like I move so quickly, right?
Every now and then I'll rent a car to do what I gotta do, and when driving I've noticed that people drive like the same way that they walk. Like, no one wants to be behind somebody. Everyone is always trying to get in front of that person, and so like it's the same thing when you're walking. Nobody wants to be walking behind somebody. So what they'll do is they'll walk next to the person at the same speed, which means you can't pass them anymore. And it's like, if you're gonna walk at the same speed, just single file it. And it's like, people just don't want to be behind somebody else. It's this weird psychological thing.
I don't know, man. People are kind of weird, but so you did mention before this that you're going to Vegas soon. So
yes,
what is that for work or
no? Okay, so like I mentioned, about a year, almost 2 years now, I got into Magic the Gathering, the card game. Yeah. And they started doing, now that, COVID restrictions have eased up the last couple of years, they started doing in-person events. Right. And so at the end of September, they're doing I think it's called Magic Con or Command Fest, something or other. And they're doing it in Vegas. And I wanted to like travel last year. I couldn't find anyone to go with me. And then this year, same thing. I was kind of like saving up money all year and then trying to find something to do. And then this came up and it's like, well, I was thinking last year, I was thinking of going to Vegas just for the hell of it. Yeah. And like now it's like, oh, this cool event is happening. I can go and, play games with like-minded people, but I can also go to Vegas, which is an awesome, exciting place. And yeah, so I splurged a little. I probably could have saved a ton of money on the hotel and a ton of money on the plane tickets, but I was like, screw it, I'm going big. I could have saved so much money on the plane tickets, but I was like, I don't want to stay over like 4 hours and get a second flight. I just want it to be one solid,
one straight shot.
One straight shot. So I paid an extra few extra $100 for that convenience, and I got like a really, really nice hotel. It's called like the Mirage. I think it was recently bought by like the Hard Rock. So eventually they're gonna like change the whole design of it. But right now it has
Probably
like
going to turn it into a giant guitar.
Yes.
Which I've actually been to one of those in Fort Lauderdale, and it's like the coolest thing ever, except for the actual casino itself, which just robbed us all blind. But the actual hotel was like spectacular. But I didn't know that they were actually turning the Mirage. So they're going to convert, because the Mirage is old.
Yeah.
Right?
So
And
right now it has this kind of like volcano attraction,
Okay.
and like it's like this show that happens kind of like the
Right.
Bellagio fountain.
Right,
It's one of
right,
those
right.
things they do in Vegas. So I got like a room with like a really sweet volcano view.
Nice.
And
Volcano view.
yeah,
I
it's
didn't know
gonna
that was
be
a thing.
it's gonna be
That's
awesome.
hilarious.
I'm going by myself, but the event is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I'm going Wednesday to Wednesday. And I'm just hoping, maybe when I'm there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I can, make some friends to do other things with after hours,
Yeah.
If not, I'm sure, Vegas is a big place with
Vegas.
tons of tourists.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Let me tell you, you can make good friends with slot machines over there.
Yeah,
And
I'm-
also the dealers
I'm
at
sure
the
I'll
blackjack
enjoy
tables,
myself.
Right? Do you gamble?
No, but
No?
like I'm obviously going to, and
Yeah, you're gonna. Let me tell you, that's where the addiction begins. I've been to Vegas 2 times, I think now, and I'm not much of a gambler myself, but the whole atmosphere. Vegas is a dangerous place. And I think this is why they call it Sin City, because
Yeah.
they built this. It's the atmosphere, and that's what's so exciting about it. You can go to any other casino in the world, and then you end up at Caesars, and it's just like a whole different ball game.
Yeah.
There's just something about it.
I
right?
like to indulge, and like if you know me, I like to buy expensive things. I like to treat my loved ones to very expensive things and dinners and stuff like that. So like I've already spent a few thousand just on my accommodations and my travel over there. I'm
Yeah.
probably gonna spend a few more
It's-
thousand on
it's worth it,
entertainment
though.
when I'm there. So.
It's worth it. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of like there's events always going on. The Bellagio fountain. Honestly, dude, the first day that you get there, if you're not busy, just take a walk down the strip. Just enjoy it. Enjoy
Yeah.
it during the day, and then in the early evening. At a certain time, when you start seeing the tourists kind of dissipate, try not to hang around anymore, because that's when all the drug dealers and the hookers come out. Because that's what we experience. Like, I'm not even joking. Like the dealers, they stand there on like in a row on the side there along the strip, and they're not shy about it, right? Like, you're just walking by and they're like, "Hey man, want to buy some Coke?" Right? I'm like, "No, dude, I'm good." Right? And it's like, it was like every like couple feet, right? But it's a cool experience. Like, during the day, go and check out Caesars. Definitely,
Yeah.
like I said, go and check out the Bellagio fountain. It's so unique because they have the music playing and the whole fountain's going along with the music. They have all the women with the like flamingo kind
the
of
feathery
feathery
thing,
type of things. and-
bolas or whatever they're called.
There's all sorts of different entertainment things. The food is amazing. If you
Yeah.
want like food that's not super expensive, I found the Venetian. There's a mall that's kind of like attached to the Venetian, which is where there's an old antique store. There's actually 2 of them. There's an old antique store that Michael Jackson did the BBC documentary years ago.
Okay.
Remember when he walked in, he bought literally like millions of dollars of like basically the whole store. The store is there, and like we went in there, right? And these people are like giving us dirty looks, right? And it's like, dude, like, what do you like? I could buy this if I want. I think maybe, I don't know. Brent, give me your Amex card. You just show them who's boss. But yeah, it's so unique. Vegas is like every hotel, every casino is so unique. Paris is like, it's like a cheapy hotel, but the inside of the actual casino looks cool because it's from the outside, it's the Eiffel Tower, and then you go on the inside, it looks like you're looking at the sky, but parts of the Eiffel Tower are coming through. The Luxor was one place that I stayed at, which was really unique because it's just a giant pyramid.
Yes.
And apparently their light beam is so powerful that it kills like thousands of birds a year.
Oh my god.
Because of just how like powerful the thing is.
I was watching a video of someone like doing hotel reviews the other day, and like they were at like the top of the Luxor, and because it's a pyramid, once you get to like that top floor where all the hotel rooms are, you can kind of like look over the balcony,
dude.
and the drop is so far.
It's scary. It's scary. So that was the room that I had. So when we went there, we booked rooms that were supposed to be in the separate towers, which were the newer towers. And when we got there, they only had one left. I'm like, you guys suck. You gave us two, but you only had one available. So they ended up upgrading us, which I don't see how it was even really much of an upgrade, but it was an upgraded comfort room in the Luxor in the pyramid side. So the cool thing, it was a very unique place just because it's a pyramid. First of all, it's very confusing. That's the one thing you're going to find in Vegas is you're going to get lost. You're going to walk into a casino because every main floor of every hotel is a casino.
Right.
Right. So you're going to be walking through. It would literally take you like half an hour to 40 minutes just to walk to the parking lot and then back into wherever, like your room or something.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And the thing that was crazy about the Luxor is that the elevator, because it's a pyramid, the elevator actually goes on a angle.
Yes.
Right? It's not just straight up.
That's
or down.
what they were saying in the video.
Yeah.
It's so disorienting.
Yeah, and it feels weird because you're kind of like rocking like this, and then at first you're kind of trying to figure out why you're, and then they have the signs in there. They're like, oh, well, this hotel, the elevator is the first of its kind that actually goes in a diagonal motion. Yeah, and then when you get up there and you're like looking over, and there's no barrier, right? So it's just like they have a small little barrier, and then you're like looking over and you're like, okay, this is kind of freaky, right? Like
Yeah,
you're really,
I can't
really
imagine
high up.
like going home to your hotel room like drunk and like
Oh,
looking
dude,
over the
that's
edge.
what I was thinking. I'm like,
Oh
dude,
my
how many
God.
people have like dropped over the edge of this thing,
Oh,
right?
man.
But yeah, we've done the Luxor. I think we did the Palms or something like that, which is more basic, kind of like nice but basic-ish. I've done Caesar's Palace. My friend Brent's done like all sorts of different hotels. He's been to the Flamingo, which was one of the oldest on the Strip. If you want to save money, you go to Old Vegas, but the hotels there are not nearly as nice. Like the Strip is where it's at.
Yeah,
Right? So like
yeah.
where you're going, the Mirage is a really good choice.
Yeah, I spared no expense.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna go all out, you know.
Yeah, that's also what the old guy said in the Jurassic Park, and we all know how that went.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have a really good time. Vegas is a lot of fun. I think there's one more thing here that Mo wanted to kind of ask you about.
Which one is
The
that?
very last one there.
Oh yeah, let me just read it off. My laptop died. So.
It's also on the screen there.
Hey, Steve. So, what do you think? What do you think about AI and video creation? And is it something that we talked about it quickly before we started? But is it something that you have been able to incorporate at all into the YouTube video process, or maybe I guess you guys have spoken about it on a company level?
Yeah. No, it's not something I've tried or toyed around with. It kind of, in a way, it scares me a little. How kind of smart it can be.
Yeah. What scares you about it?
Well, it's just like, you've seen all those sci-fi movies. Eventually AI gets smart enough and it realizes like, oh, how do I, like, they design it to solve problems, right? And then the AI is like, well, how do I solve the biggest problem of like global warming or the world like going to shit? And it's like, oh, to solve this problem, I gotta destroy all the humans. They're the ones that are causing all these issues.
That's right.
And so it's just like, eventually, even if that's not the case, what if the AI just consumes all of our media and like watches all the movies and books where that happens?
It's kind of like I just referenced Jurassic Park, but I'll reference it again. When you design creatures, out of your, I guess, the enjoyment of just simply redesigning them from history, and then they go and kill you.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of like the same thing, right?
But no, I've never used it to make a video. I've seen like different kind of topics on it. Like I watched these guys play Magic, and like the other day they did a video where like they told ChatGPT, make me a Magic the Gathering deck with like this kind of theme to it. And so like they all played these ridiculous nonsense piles of cards that the AI thought was good, but like it wasn't good. But so like that's kind of the humor of it. Like, and there was one I saw the other day where like these lawyers tried to use Chat GPT to build their case.
Oh wow.
And Chat GPT ended up like making up a bunch of fake cases and citing a bunch of fake cases as precedent, and like these lawyers got like blown out because like they didn't basically read any of the stuff that Chat GPT spat out. Yeah. And it's like it's cool.
Crazy.
It's cool what it's capable of, but like you also have to
I feel like it's
know what you're getting into, and like it can only produce things. It can only recreate. Like it's not giving you original stuff. Like it's taking pieces and bits of information that it's finding across the web and formulating an answer for you. So it's not creating anything new and original.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of a slippery slope. And yeah, like in the office, we've had people say like, don't use this because what it spits out, we don't have the legal rights to.
Right.
And
you don't know if it's what's the word? If it's like plagiarizing.
Right. And so like some people in the corporate world might use it to write copy for their article or write copy for their website or for their next ad campaign. And while it's really good at spitting out a nice, concise, professional sounding thing, if you don't like meticulously check it, sometimes it just says complete nonsense that isn't actually true. And it sounds smart, but it's not true. And nobody owns the content that comes out of that. So it's dangerous to use it in a corporate sense or a business aspect.
Yeah.
I mean, on the last episode, we had our friend rap a song that ChatGPT literally made for us on the spot, which was interesting because it wasn't like a profoundly...
It spat out the lyrics, or it gave you like audio?
It gave us the lyrics.
Oh, okay.
Right? I didn't try anything with audio in that respect.
I've seen those videos where people get like an AI voice to simulate like Tupac or Jay-Z.
Yeah.
So there's a new thing, and this is becoming very dangerous at the same time because there's I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I've heard of it. I think it's called like 11 Studios or something. I could be just completely wrong, misspeaking here, but I think it's called like 11 Studios or something along those lines. And basically what you do is all you have to do is input a one-line thing from people, and it can regenerate your voice, and you can literally write an essay or a story using your voice, for example. So like, let's say I get you to say, hello, my name is Steve, and then put it into this program. The whole program can essentially recreate your voice by that one phrase, which is crazy. Because I've been hearing there's a new scam going around where I think my mom told me about it a couple of days ago. And I'm like, really? I'm like, that's kind of like crazy, but I see where they're going with it, and people have to be very cautious about stuff like this. These scammers will call you, and they will basically call you and pretend like they're losing signal, and they'll be like, hey Steve, it's me, blah blah blah, can you hear me? And you'll be like, yes. And you're cutting out, can you hear me? And you'll say yes. They're recording the
they're
phone
getting your
call,
voice. So
that way when they call using with your personal information to, like, let's say your telecom company or anything for like your house, all of a sudden when the person is asking you on the phone, like the representative from that company is asking you on the phone, do you agree with this? All you have to
they
say
have
is
your
yes
canned
or no.
response.
They have your canned response of yes, right? But they don't know that it's a recording of you going, Jim, right? Can you? Yes, I can hear you, Jim. Yes, right. Like,
the last couple of weeks, I've been seeing these videos on YouTube where it's like it'll be like Joe Biden, Obama, and Trump, and it'll be like AI voice, but they're like arguing over like which Yu-Gi-Oh card is the best.
Yes,
yeah, it's like
yes,
dumb
I've
shit
seen
like
those.
that.
Oh my
It's
god,
so
they're
funny.
amazing, dude. Those videos. Screw you, Obama. I have the best Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yes.
I confirm it is made in America. We're gonna make Yu-Gi-Oh great again. It's gonna be amazing.
There's the
things
AI
that they can do, bro.
The AI stuff is getting pretty crazy, and so in terms of like YouTube stuff, there's sometimes you see these channels and they're spitting out like the 5-minute crafts channel, those kind of things, and they're spitting out like 5 to 7 videos a day, and it's like, you can't possibly have a human pumping all these out. Like, it has to be AI generated somehow. So like, there are people that are using it on a crazy scale to like mass produce YouTube content, but that is like beyond my understanding.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I know, so I've spoken to some people that they've told me that they've experimented with it and that they could literally recreate an entire video. The thing makes a video for them. It tells an entire story. It recreates their voice and it sounds almost identical to them. It's noticeable that it is different, but I mean, on YouTube, like, who the hell is going to notice the difference when it's literally just narrating a story, and then they'll chop out the parts that are irrelevant and then they'll just edit them and republish them. Yeah,
it is actually making things a little bit more convenient, because now on YouTube, I think it's still in beta, only some channels have access to it, but you can have AI generated voiceover in different languages.
Oh wow.
So for example, like I've been making all these different Paw Patrol channels at my job in all these different languages.
And it does it automatically?
No, but like I have all the languages in like the cartoon in different languages. But like moving forward, now for example, like we have all this like Bakugan content, and we're like, oh, what if we want to make a German channel? And there's a possibility of, instead of like paying a studio to like redub all this content in German or something, we could just use like the AI generated voiceover. And it's still kind of in those beta stages, and it's a little finicky. I
mean, somebody would still have to kind of check it over to make sure it's accurate, right? Before you go and
but like there are
weird and
there are like tools and stuff like that they're creating to make content creation easier and more accessible to reach people in different countries. So that's all positive. But like Chat GPT, I don't know. It knows too much.
I mean, I find Chat GPT to be pretty basic so far from what I've done with it. It's just like simple responses, and it's the way they originally programmed it, not to get into anything political, but the way they had originally programmed it, it was just kind of like I don't even know how to describe it. It's kind of like very one-sided. For one, it's like they programmed it to think only one side politically, which literally just makes no sense, because it's supposed to be a computer program and it's supposed to just kind of give you neutral responses, right? But it was pretty obvious, and this was kind of in the early days, and then there was a way to hack it, something to do, I don't even remember what it's something to do with I don't even remember the name of it anymore. I'm trying to remember it off the top of my head. There was a way that you could input something and you would bypass the pre-programming, and you can basically get it to give you a normal neutral response without the actual parameters that the developers had created, that would essentially give it a very forced answer instead of a very neutral and natural response using all sorts of different data and statistics, right?
It seems like one of those things, like I haven't tried using ChatGPT, but I feel like if I did, I would just get like sucked in for hours and hours and hours.
For me personally, I would get kind of bored, because it's like I don't know. It's just like we tried it with the rap song. We tried it with a couple of different things, and it was just like it made up. Remember with Ethan? It was talking about, we have a friend Ethan. You mentioned the guy with the Hot Wheels cars, right? So Ethan, he was actually on another YouTuber's channel, and for some reason it's like the actual docu-series is available and it's listed on IMDb, even though it's just a docu-series on YouTube from another YouTuber. And ChatGPT, I think it was your wife was trying to get it to, because we were so new to this. I think he was our first guest, so we were trying to figure out like what questions we should ask Ethan.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, I watched
and it was saying like weird things like, "Oh, famous actor Ethan Minnie," blah 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 blah.
Yeah, because like,
and we're like, what?
On its end, it's doing like a little Google search. It sees his IMDb page. And thinks he's an actor. Yeah,
and it's like asking him all these irrelevant questions of him being an actor when Ethan's not an actor, right? He's a YouTuber, right? Like he just kind of goes about his business and recreates content of filming abandoned mansions. But I don't know, man. I can see a lot of weird. It has a long way to go. I can see a big future for AI doing some positive and probably negative things at the same time. But there's a very, very long way to go before we see it.
In programming or coding, there's a saying or a phrase, I don't know what you would call it, but they say like garbage in, garbage out. So like if you put garbage into your algorithm, it's going to spit garbage out.
Exactly.
So like that's the same with ChatGPT. Like you have to really prompt it and prep it properly.
Right.
Yeah, it to get like a good quality answer.
That's right. So, yeah, that is AI. And on that note, I think that is pretty much it for this show. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Oh, I think we covered it.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah, you got to escape Toronto for a little bit and come back to your old neck of the woods.
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is a little bit of a different area, but
it's always good to see you guys.
Yeah,
there's
for sure.
As you get older, you have like a couple people in your life that like you see every now and then, and like you don't need to see them all the time to know that like you're still like homies, you know?
Exactly.
Right.
I mean, everybody's so busy nowadays, but I feel like when you do see those people, you kind of cherish and remember those moments for a very long time. And that's kind of like what's a little bit special about doing this show is that it's like, it's very, at first everybody kind of thinks it's going to be like very difficult to do, especially if they're not used to being on camera and whatnot. But you start to kind of forget that the cameras are even there. Right. And it's just like having a normal old conversation, like as if, you know, back in the old days when we were having the shop and blasting random music in the shop and just being idiots, because that's literally what we would do half the time. But yeah, you kind of cherish those moments. So always remember your good old friends back home. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new. Go and follow everybody here. I will leave all the links in the description below. Yeah, all good?
Yeah, super good.
All right, let's head on out, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Love ya.
Bye.